Let me show these suckers how to ball out here. Oh, man, let's get this together here. Oh, layup. Oh, shot. Oh, three. Oh, it's like Brick City out here. Mid-range. Oh, my goodness. I can't buy a bucket out here. I missed the whole damn basket. Oh, my goodness. What's going on, man? My game is looking trash. Oh, here we go. Black Power Media shirt. Now we cooking. Trees. I'm taking on three of y'all with these right here. Between the legs. Oh, my goodness. Behind the back. Layup. Oh, and did he just do a reverse? He is in beast mode out here. I ain't got to look. It's falling. Oh, my goodness. This guy is going 3, 2, 1. Kobe. Nice. Black Power Media, baby. Nice. Empower yourself. Go get you some of that Black Power Media again. Right here, blackpowermedia.org. Yeah.
You got to earn your liberation.
Yo. How you doing, brother? What's up? Welcome to Earn Your Liberation, episode 54. Your brother Diallo. Each of y'all, I think Jared might be jumping in here at some point, driving and podcasting at the same time. What's up with you, man?
I'm well. How you been this week?
Been all right, man. Trying to get some shit done in Atlanta and get this bipolar weather. Did it get hot there in Chicago?
No. Well, I got up to the 40s. That's hot for this time of year. Upper 30s.
Man,
we just came out
70 with rain here.
70?
Yeah, like up to 70 and 60, but it was raining, so.
Nah, we was down into like 20, 30 below, 15 below, and pipes bursting all over the city, man.
Oh, shit. That's wild.
Yeah. I don't know what possessed these folks to build a city.
Ain't your boy got some stuff going on? The mayor, and there was some situations I can't remember. I saw something in the news about something happening, and he's kind of under fire or something.
They hating on dude from the Giddy Up.
Yeah,
yeah.
He doing right by the people or no?
See, here's the thing, man, about politics and policies. I think he has some good policy positions, and as far as doing right by the people, I would say absolutely not, because I don't think he could if he wanted to. Not that I think he wants to, but I voted for him, and I am I would have to say content with his administration so far. I mean, they did that.
He's definitely not a fascist, right?
Well, no, he's not a fascist, but I mean, I like some of his policy positions. He's a mainstream liberal in his ideology, and I say he's center.
How about that?
He's centrist in his administration, which is probably the best you can hope for in a major city from a major party. I mean,
would you call him a Zionist?
Well, yes, he is a Zionist. I think the city council and him had some resolution a couple of months ago to express the city's support for Israel. And then just a couple of days ago, he announced that he's calling for a ceasefire, which I think is booty as hell. He called for a ceasefire. So he's just taking the liberal position. I think he's pro-Zionist, but I don't think he has expressed support for the genocidal incursion.
Right.
So,
I mean, I wonder how many Black Democrats are probably not Zionists. Like Bakari Sellers, one of the Black politicians from the U.S., and it's almost like quite a few of them are probably funded by Jewish organizations, like Bakari was. So a Zionist organization in particular, and he feels like he's beholden to them. So they almost like being in the Democratic Party. I'm not sure that they could even take too many anti.
Well, it's not even Democratic Party. I think it goes beyond Democrats, because I mean, you find Zionists among the Democrats and the Republicans and apolitical people. I think it's more of Christian dispensational beliefs. So I think it's whether someone's a Democrat or a Republican, I think it goes well beyond party politics in this country, and it goes into the religious and theocratic indoctrination. So since the vast majority of people in this country are Christian, and so they're Christian Zionists, so you'll find the deeper people run into Christianity, the more. And when you see resistance to Zionism, it's not necessarily falls among party lines. You have two basic groups of people who are against Zionism, and on the left, they tend to be secular. They tend to don't buy into this absurdist prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the right, you have the anti-Semites who just hate anything Jews do, and they are able to use Zionism, which is wicked, evil, racist, which is what they are. So, and to attack, to be anti-Semitic in the open and butt naked, like they use woke to attack Black people, but they don't have to be exposed as so. So in the leftist side, it's tend to be secular, but I think you will be skewed looking at the political parties, because I think it's much bigger than the political parties.
Right. So y'all gonna have to forgive me. I don't know if there's gonna be background noise. Can you hear that in the background?
That woman screaming?
Yeah. There's a woman on top of the roof screaming and shit. I don't know why she up there, but they fixing the roof, so hopefully that's not too bad. But so this morning we're gonna have a couple interviews. Some of our CMB brothers. One come on at 9, and the other one come on at 10. For like quick 30-minute interview on both topics. But we do have a bunch of stuff that we're gonna be getting into. What you want to get into first? I know there was a couple things on this run sheet that you chose.
Man.
Yeah, I'm the man. Okay, I'll be the man for the day. Well, since I'm the man, should we start with your prophecies on womanosphere?
Well, I'm new to that. People tell me I've been blindsided, that it's always been here. People tell me that, it's always been here, where you've been at, and everybody now pretending like it's always been here. Well, it's relatively new to me. But then I have found that a lot of people are confusing the womanosphere with just basic feminist or positions or basic feminist critiques. So, and the womanosphere is not feminism. And despite all my criticisms and conflicts with the feminist movement, the womanosphere is not feminism. It's kind of like when the manosphere tries to act as though it is attached to civil rights or justice for men or shit like that. So it is not, because some people came to me and was like, oh, remember divestment and things like that. But I think the womanosphere is something new to me. Again, I'm just speaking for myself, that I started coming across womanosphere content, womanosphere commentaries, and womanosphere AI memes, because one of the big component of the manosphere have been these shitty memes and this shitty imagery of men as kings and men as and women as what did Boots Riley say, where women's either have to be saints, hoes, or skeezers. So it's amazing. I'm new to it. I'm an infant. I'm brand new to the genre, but I guess what really surprised me is that I'm surprised that there is a womanosphere. So Katrina Samuels.
So this not like the radical feminist people, right? So
I actually support radical feminists. Well, she's not the one who originally shared it. I think she shared it, but that Kizzy Denise.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I actually support rad femmes and anarcho femmes and shit like that. Yeah, I support that. My problem is the liberal feminist and the women's integration, as opposed to the mainstream or feminist.
So they're men over 50. Kevin Samuels lied to you, specifically the single ones who haven't learned how to cater to a woman. It's disheartening to see how much you have been misled. Like the ones on dating apps. Do you really want to get off the app? So wait, where's that other link you have? The one where the woman with her degree is running from all the monster looking black men who want to hold her down. You have that link?
Yeah.
It wouldn't pull up for me.
Well, this image, if you go up to the image, ain't you supposed to block out folks' names?
Oh, my bad. Well, I mean, it's public. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that.
I don't know.
Peace to the ball guy.
Yes, if people, but yeah, people started sending that to me.
Oh.
And that's how I got introduced to the womanosphere. Somebody sent me that image and was like, "That you?" And I'm like, "Well," but I wasn't offended because he looked cozy as hell. That was me when I was sick and I was watching The Wire. You know, and rest in peace to Congo. My dog had passed away, but that could have been me.
You were watching The Wire?
I was, when I had the flu, I was just watching Wire reruns. I got up through 2 seasons. That's how sick I was. I watched 2 full seasons of The Wire just laid out. So,
Right.
oh, here's the one you talking about.
What's up, academics in car? How you feeling, Ball?
Yeah, what's going on,
Bell.
fellas? What's
It's
up,
Dr.
remixers?
Bell.
Dr. Bell,
Oh,
man, they
man.
call it everything.
Bell.
They call him man everything except Ball, yo.
He didn't messed up.
Well,
What
they
you
also
got, Doc?
spelled tonight wrong, so
Yeah,
apparently, you know. But yeah, that was funny. It
Forget
happens all the
What is
time,
the
man.
terror of revolution? What?
Yeah,
Wait.
it was provocatively titled.
Diallo, you got the
I
link?
don't know who you. I'm looking, man. Listen, like I said, I'm new to this, not true to this.
You don't know how to share?
Nothing
Come
you
on,
can
man.
do
Don't act
to
like
this.
you-
I'm scrolling
So-
because
Just FYI, I don't know how long or how well this internet is going to work in the car, but so I'm just giving it a shot, putting in an
looking
effort, because
looking
Well,
pretty.
people-
I
stylish.
see trying not to get replaced out here.
All your replacements was sick or busy today, so you got lucky. You got
Yeah, I was saying I'm good. Yeah, I
you
had to
was out
call in
there
some
making us
favors.
look thirsty, Geechee.
what?
You heard what I said.
What you say?
You out here making us look thirsty.
Wait, you the one that
Begging
said.
up. Begging
Should I
up.
pull up the chat where you said we need a woman? We need a woman. Go find us a woman. Should I pull up that chat or no?
Pull it up. I
Hey,
don't
you
care.
pull a
Pull
link
up.
up, man. We trying to see
Pull
this
up.
rad.
Oh, here it is. Now I found the thing. Too late. You can't pull it up.
Come on, let's see this. This one was kind of funny though.
You can't pull it up. It's too late. Like I said, I found the thing. So I'm gonna pull this up.
You know how to
Oh,
share your
wait.
screen?
Womanosphere content. And I hope we're not recruiting to, because I was new to this, and you know, I can be seduced. So I'm here joking
wow.
about it today, and I could be in on it tomorrow.
Zoom it up
There it
on, man. All them monster black men chasing her with her degree.
How do you? What do you mean? Oh, Zoom. Hold on.
That little expanding thing at the top.
Boom, boom. What expander thing?
See the magnifying glass? There's one that goes zoom and there's one that go decrease.
At the
Nah.
top? Oh,
Hey, now I know why they thought you was that dude, because you're
because you're a nerd.
All right. Wait, what those things say? Can you see them?
Yes.
Come here, Mr. Strong, Mrs. Strong, independent woman. You're not a virgin. What? You're not a virgin. May as well give it up. Oh my gosh. You think you better than us? Man. Jared, you seen these
You
man
have some
woman
baby before it's
woman
too late,
stairs?
miss. But what does the woman say? Look, let me scroll down.
Trying to leave poverty, struggle, love, hard knock life. Wow.
So she's trying to leave. She's got her, I don't know what's in her bag. I don't know what is in her arm here. But you see, she's got her little, you know,
That's her degree, bro.
square on a circle. Is that the degree?
Yeah, I guess like the little degree flap and a phone.
You know, AI, look, you know, AI with the hands.
Yeah.
You know, she's got some congenital deformity, so she's really come far, struggled through a lot. And then the men are all much darker than her. Let's not ignore that. Many of them wearing hoodies. And so you think you're better than us. I'd rather date a Wendy's employee. You're not a virgin. Might as well give it up. No man gonna want you. You need to have some babies for that degree won't keep you warm at night. So these sisters, are out here trying to progress and do well, while these brothers are trying to bring them down, like Bobby did Whitney, and then the other one you shared. But there's so much more, so much more. And so I was like, God damn, there's a whole womanosphere, which is not the same. This is another one, but you saying folks' names. And they all use the same shitty AI memes that the Manosphere is quite fond of. But here's another one that I saw and they're just very fond of these. Some men are so broken they don't want, just taking this blanket, just like the brothers do, taking this blanket and throwing it over the whole population of black men, just like the Manosphere take this blanket and throw it over the whole population of black women, and just saying that all the obstacles, all the threats, all the dysfunction that plagues the black woman can be rested at the feet or emerges from black men. And if black men would get out the way or play their position properly, everything would be solved. And telling black women, hey, if you get with this program of the womanosphere, you will experience personal success, personal wealth, personal fulfillment, and you will continue to surpass and manifest your, I'm just saying, superiority over the black man. And it's just it's womanosphere shit. And there are brothers who have made millions and become famous from manosphere content. To the point that even dudes that wouldn't necessarily be associated with the manosphere start to spew manosphere shit. Like if you listen to Jordan Peterson and then you listen to some of Dr. Fubar, there's so much overlap and inbreeding. So
tell me this. And take that screen off. So maybe I'm not gonna name names. I'm not gonna name names again. But somebody sent me, or not sent me this. They post this, right? Most women want
that's
a man.
Some manosphere shit.
Yeah, but so supposedly when I asked him, I said, "What does it mean to act like a man? Can we get some description and example?" I'm asking for black women and men. He says he's gonna have to he's not gonna text it because a simple answer that he will give will apply to multiple different people. So basically said it will be relative. And then he said there's a woman online that's going to talk about this and he'll send me the link later. So basically he's getting it from that. So is the womanospheres also saying womanospheres, are they also saying acting like a woman, acting like a man? There's the ways that men and women act.
No, well, it's the womanosphere is not a complement or an ally of the manosphere. It is a maladaptation to the manosphere. So they're not going to basically, and when you look at womanosphere content from my just recent week of kind of falling into this community, then you can't just take manosphere content and replace man with woman or replace king with queen and you'll be accurate in their assessments. It's more of a flip side of the coin as opposed to a gender swap. So no, I haven't really seen that, but it does have some common elements. But a lot of the rhetoric that comes, whereas the manosphere asserts that, well, men were dominant, men were centered, men had a great destiny before us, but because women refusing to play their role, because women are taken over, feminized, and transgender and queer and
wait. If the men so dominant and in control, how they taking over? How can they take over if they so dominant? I thought
you want me to defend it or explain it?
Both.
I can't defend it. I'm just explaining it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not here to defend these positions. I'm just here to articulate what they say. And I'm just doing that to show you, whereas women are not, where men were at the top in our rightful place at the top, and our rightful place at the top and centered, and we have been toppled by insidious forces. Women are saying that they were repressed and they're emerging. So you have one group that says, well, women are emerging. We're getting our degrees. We're getting our money. We can do what we want. And these men either are in our way or they are behind us and can't keep up. Whereas men say, well, we're being toppled and we're being subverted and undermined. And we are falling from the top and we're being reduced. Whereas women say we are emerging and they're trying to pull us back. So that's kind of a wider overview of the womanosphere. And neither one of these groups look at capitalism, look at the unjust hierarchies, look at the nature of white hegemony, imperialism, colonialism, subversion and neither one of them have a leftist analysis. Neither all of them have reactionary, maladaptive solutions to problems that they have ill-diagnosed or ill-defined. That's where the commonalities kind of end, and they both target oppressed populations, as opposed to identifying oppressors and exploiters and parasitic populations. They seek to join or integrate with the parasites, become parasites themselves, or high value themselves, while leaving the undeserving lessers in the lurch. That's it. That's where it is.
So basically they're gonna be around for a little while and then eventually they just gonna go away like the manospheres. Are they still here or are they gone?
Huh?
Is it still the manosphere?
The manosphere is not just here. I think it is going mainstream. It was once it's kind of like the incel community or the overt race realist, nouveau racist. It used to be just like this womanosphere stuff. Like you don't see sisters in everyday life and in casual conversations, or sisters like in mainstream media or known public figures articulating these womanosphere positions. But it could get there. Whereas today you'll have someone, there are some manosphere celebrities and some manosphere millionaires that are mainstream that people will talk to and pretend has a position. So I think this could grow. I think it is a complement to capitalist aspirations and ongoing integrationist aspirations. So I think this shit could have some legs. You know, if you had asked me a few years ago when this ATOS FBA shit was getting off the ground, you know, it could have legs, and the dysfunction of this system and the maladaptations emerging from our community, it can find fertile ground to take soil.
Jared, you good? You can hear?
Yeah, I hear you.
So I wonder if we can go to, I guess, I don't know if you would call, what would you call, what's the guys? Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams. So apparently Dave Chappelle has been in the news of getting in on this Cat Williams talk. And it is said that Dave Chappelle, when he jokes, he punched down and Cat Williams was punching up. And Dave Chappelle is mad that he was punching up.
He also said that Cat Williams hadn't talked about any white comics.
Yeah. So he just left that out. But is there any general feelings about that? I mean, I know we had before this idea of, I don't know if y'all had a back and forth between either Dave Chappelle being funny or effective. They had claimed that he's like really intelligent. He's out of everybody's league as a comedian. But I don't know how y'all feel about this punch up, punch down type of rhetoric. Diallo, because this was also something that you wanted to talk about?
I think to me, this is a case study in class alignment and class ideology, because Dave Chappelle came out to defend his fellow comedians, where Cat Williams sat there and kind of articulate what much. I mean, there was some salacious gossip, but overall, what I said I appreciated about that is to just show how, you know, a lot of these moneyed individuals we define as successful, and some of us even define as goals, hashtags goal, just how miserable they are and how absurd and ridiculous they are, and how just securing the bag or getting a shit ton of fiat still can leave you pretty much empty.
Right.
And that these people are not people who are shouldn't be aspirational, because a celebrity is nothing more than an aspirational individual in the society.
Right.
So, but Dave Chappelle, who literally did 4 to 5 comedy specials. I saw 3 specials where he has hyper fixated to the point of obsession, if you ask me, on transgender, attacking transgender people, lying on transgender people, and publicly affiliating himself with individuals such as Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. So he is not a friend of the people. He is not an ally of the people. And when he stated in defense of Elon Musk, when his own audience were booing him, that the people who were booing were sitting in cheap seats.
Right.
So Dave Chappelle had a good branding. I think it was branding personally. I don't think he's ever really internalized solidarity with the people, but, you know, living out on his isolated farm and rubbing elbows with the elites and cultural, economic and cultural elites, that he felt compelled to speak up on behalf of these people who have all the power in the world to speak for themselves. Who just a year and a half ago was promoting himself as a free speech advocate and saying you can't cancel me, and crying about how he's getting canceled, and started associating himself with these free speech absolutists and being embraced by the right wing as a free speech champion, anti-cancel culture, anti-woke champion, to then come out and defend some of the most wealthy and prominent individuals with as being targeted and vulnerable. So I think this is a case study in class consciousness of Dave, and not in this, as we understand class consciousness in terms of class antagonism, but class solidarity that he has with other moneyed people. And he believes that wealthy and elite people are above and beyond reproach, when he has created a whole new career for himself as being someone who can unashamedly target one of the most vulnerable populations in our society.
So one of the things that Charlemagne would say to me maybe weekly about not critiquing him and people like him, and why don't we just go critique the white man? He's gonna say this again, so I would like y'all reactions after we play this clip.
He only eats the he didn't say anything about any of these white boys. And none of these white boys function like that. And Cat is one of the best painters in the game. Stop. And Cat hurt people, but I'm a hurt person that never hurt people. And he does it all the time. This one and that one and this one. But anything that you did wrong, he didn't do nothing wrong, I'm gonna bring a black guy, Cat that did to me. Cat was talking about that did to other, but not about anything that did to him. If I told my story, it would break your heart. I lost everything and never, ever told on anybody.
I mean, Dave, not wrong. I said the same thing. I said something very similar. If you're going to call out the power structure in Hollywood, don't go after, in your words, the puppets. Call out the folks pulling the strings. Don't call out the planters. Call out the people who are doing the planting. Like, you can't have any conversation about power in the entertainment industry and not talk about white folks. So if you really want to shake the room and you think that it's a real problem in the industry, you start at the top. You start at the head. Calling out a bunch of your peers does nothing but make you the talk of the worldwide nigga net. But don't listen to me, because I'm a plant.
Yeah, talking
That is true.
the worldwide nigga
Now
net.
also Jennifer Hudson, she talks
Wow,
a couple of months ago. She talked about
Yeah.
wow. See that, like just their tone. Like, how dare you talk about us? We're the people white folks are writing 6- and 7-figure checks to. And again, Charlemagne is a person who has viciously attacked and punched down. And
all
so
they do is punch down and punch across on that show. What is he talking about?
That's the most absurd thing,
about?
right? Both Dave Chappelle and him are punch downers, and they're like, "How dare you critique up? How dare you look laterally or up?" And like I said, when he talks about the worldwide nigger net, he's literally saying, when you do this stuff, only people who are responding and engaging with what you're saying are the unwashed masses, the filthy, dirty blacks, the worldwide nigger net, and that's all you're doing. You're not being on red carpets. You're not getting a Mark Twain award. And let's say, talk about white comedians. If he got up there and was like, and Gary O and Tosh.0, we don't even know who the white comedians are, let alone care.
And Dave didn't even name the names. He didn't name the white comedians.
Right.
But Cat did big Dave up though. So Cat wasn't shitting on Dave. He probably shit on his friends who would need a volley because
it's class. More so, he probably not friends with these people.
Nah, like I think so. This is what I think. So you know how
Dave and Steve Harvey hang out.
I think they respect each other. And
I didn't ask you that.
Let me
you
finish.
Said his friends.
Let me finish. So you know how as a celebrity, there's a class of y'all, right? And when one of y'all fall off, the one that's on gonna pull you back up. I think Dave is in a circle like that. So if Dave ever fall off like a bad brick, and Steve or Kevin Hart is still popping, they're gonna bring Dave back on.
In Geechee Land again. Next time you go to Geechee Land, please, bless your heart.
But you just said they defended. Listen,
you just said wealthy celebrity. When one wealthy celebrity falls off, instead of getting away and detaching yourself from that wealthy celebrity, so their failures thing, you think they pull each other up.
You're missing that. You're missing that. When they friends, when they cool, when they in a circle, like for instance, right? And Charlemagne says this, and Tamika says this. Whenever Tamika got that backlash, Charlemagne called Tamika Mallory.
Oh.
Whenever she got that backlash,
first name basising people, man.
Let me finish, bro.
You know how many Tamikas
you would take the mic and take the mic and then take the mic again.
I'm just trying to get clarity.
You got clarity. Now move on.
About Tamika, like you know her. You got her number in your phone.
I mean, even if I did, it wouldn't really matter. But the point is, can you stay on focus, bro? And I think that's what you try to do. Instead of losing the point, you're gonna argue around and dance and change the conversation. But he calls Jay-Z and say, listen, we need to look out for her and blah, 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 blah. Boom, she's right back. So if you're trying to tell me there's not even with Kevin Hart, whenever that pandemic happened, Kevin Hart and Charlemagne signed this audio deal where they're reading books together for audio books. So I do think it's a circle of them, not all of them, but it's a circle of them that if shit goes sour for one of them, they're going to be like,
they're going to stand together and fight.
Just like the class solidarity, you was just trying to argue. You was just trying to argue class solidarity. I'm just saying there's a small class within that class that if you out, you out. And Cat, even though he win that class, his ass is out. Just like when Monique was out whenever she said some shit about the rest of them. So even though they in that class, if they ain't on a friend and a camaraderie basis, they might not get pulled up. When
I didn't say class solidarity, I said class consciousness. But here's the thing, though:
they defending each other's class.
When you fall out of that class, you lose that solidarity. So it's not as though class solidarity. I said you can't understand it the way class consciousness or class solidarity works amongst the poor and working class versus the upper classes and their interest and their status. Dave Chappelle doesn't want his status to be threatened. He doesn't want his status. He wants that there to remain. So I feel you, but it's just, it doesn't work the way, we're all going to hold each other up. No, we're all going to see if we can get paid off of each other and stay up here, because it is a
that part I agree with, because I also think Dave is incredibly defensive of comics as a profession, even a class, so to speak. I've seen him in a number of occasions defend just the field of the comedian to be able to do what they want to do. He's very reluctant, in my experience, watching him to critique other comics. So I would get that on that part as well. But at the same time, to what you've already said, if you're going to get into the political, but the other part though is, I am very what's the word I'm looking for? Predisposed to what Cat was doing, to the extent he was telling some truths. If people are taking your jokes and stealing your work and trying to keep people off of jobs and doing all that kind of stuff, I'm kind of with all the calling people out for that. And I would feel the same way in our related spaces. But when it comes to the political part, I think you're exactly right in terms of, I mean, you know, Dave is just, he's crossed over into picket fights with communities he doesn't need to. When he stayed in the lane of raising, I thought, of an appropriate question of the contradictions in the most elite transitioning and then claiming to be part of an oppressed group, I thought he was on point with that. But I think he's gone into something else, and then with class solidarity with Musk and all of that is absurd. But I do think he's got a tendency to just want to defend the comics, the right for the comics to comic. And in that space, in that way, I could see why he would be defensive of his fellow comedians. You know what I mean?
And so just like I told you that, although folks have known us for quite some time and seen your work for quite some time, the recent viral moment is probably making people come out and say things, right? So Cat Williams, that Shannon Sharpe interview is not a skit on SNL. So Saturday Night Live, like they're getting some serious attention, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of provoking some response. And then ironically, there's several of them from Ohio. So Cat Williams, Dave, I think it's another person, and then even Mike Epps is from Indiana. So they all from this area, which is interesting. But even Corey Holcomb was trying to, chime in on saying Dave is not that funny because he's an intellectual giant and he comes up there and speaks some social political analysis.
He didn't just say that, Geechee. I'm sorry to interrupt. He didn't just say that. Corey Holcomb said Dave has been bombing routinely.
Yeah.
Like he's saying his stand-ups aren't even that funny. He said when I'm in the club and I hear Dave is about to come on, I get up and leave.
Yeah. But I think what he was trying to explain was not that he's not necessarily funny, is that he goes into political, social stuff for an hour or whatever because he's this intellectual guy, and then he might throw some jokes in. But then again, it also creates this image how celebrities do with each other, that this person is legit, and this person, when he speaks about this, he's coming from a rational, solid analysis. But even when he said like how he said Cat Williams is one of the best painters in the game, and he's drawing an ugly picture right now. So this idea of him like policing Cat Williams, and I wonder if it's because, again, Cat Williams got to the place that he was, and he did this thing with Shannon. Maybe there was some other people in the background that kind of put him on another level. He's going to be memed for the next 50 years, right? But again, that little Shannon Sharpe skit gets on SNL and starting to be growing even further than, I think it was like 80 million views they got right now. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if it seems like what Dave is saying is Cat walked away from that little clip that I was trying to talk about. Although Cat was bombing on half of them anywhere. And Kevin Hart's response, and I think Dave said this, or somebody said this, all of the people that Cat Williams came for, they're gonna be fine. It's not gonna hurt their career. Like, it's not gonna hurt Kevin Hart's. And I don't know if he went after DL. DL's gonna be doing this thing. Ricky Smiley syndicated all over the country. So it's not really gonna hurt their careers, but I don't know. Any other thoughts?
Well, the only thought I have is that, first of all, I've never seen Corey Holcomb stand up, so I don't know how funny he is. I see some of the clips from his podcast, and I think they're kind of funny. Although he's got, especially when he goes at Boyce and them, but he's also got one of his colleagues on there, the chubbier, lighter skinned dude, was talking trash the other day about saying Yassine Bey or Mos Def has fallen off.
Yeah, I saw that part.
And I actually even put I even commented. I was like, none of you will ever be as funny as he is still good at rhyming. So,
Right.
Corey needs to check that before he, starts worrying about Cat and Chappelle and Chappelle bombing and all of that. Get your boy, get your man, and get him corrected on that nonsense.
So I did see a thing, and Diallo, I wonder what you think about this. They said the role of comedian. This was Amelia Robinson from Columbus Dispatch. Comedians, a comedian is their job or their role is to react to things and to provide social commentary. Obviously, we take that into maybe a political analysis, but would you say that's the role of a comedian in society? To Diallo?
Well, I think the role of the comedian is to make people laugh. And most comedians fall into niches or genre. I'm sure y'all remember the get her done. That what they call it, like the white trash comedy,
the trailer
tour.
park
the
boys
trailer park
like
kind
that.
of
Larry the Cable Guy.
Larry the Cable Guy, and that get her done, and a real redneck, and that type of comedy. It's not really social commentary, but that's appealed to middle America. And those dudes, the Larry the Cable Guy was the top, and then this other guy, Fluffy. I don't know if you guys familiar with Fluffy. He's like the top. He's one of the top earning and top touring. Look up Fluffy, the comedian, and he comes out there in a Hawaiian shirt, and he says nothing about anything except stale popcorn and fart jokes. So I think we should probably, as that was my whole thing where I was bumping heads with Talib Kweli talking about, the answer and the leaders and shit. I think we need to dethrone or derail this whole comedy and social commentary. I think it's per comedian. As an industry or as a profession, no, I don't think it. Now, there's this whole concept of the jester. The court jester was the only person in the king's court that was allowed to tell the truth to the king and allowed to mock the king, and now the nobles and the dukes and all the other highborns. The jester was allowed to mock them and say and speak to them in common language and make jokes about the queen's bosom. So there was this myth. I think it's a myth that the comedians are the ones who tell us the truth. But that's just not the case, because it has been corporatized. And comedians are no longer of the people. They're multi-millionaires. So now that the comedic profession, where the upper echelon or the gatekeepers are sipping tea and eating crumpets with Elon Musk, I think we need to just dispel ourselves of all of that. So yes, there are comedians who engage in astute social commentary and critique, but not because they're comedians. It's not a byproduct of the profession, just like hip hop is not the CNN of Black America, right, or inherently. So no, as a profession, no. I mean, I think, Gallagher, if that shit started trending again, they'd be on stage with fake poop, rubber chickens, and smashing pumpkins, if that's what paid. So, and Dave Chappelle's whole persona as this wise man, it's marketing. He constructed that whole identity sitting across from a white boy who eventually stabbed him in the back. So, no. I just wish we would dispel ourselves of that myth. And when we do get a comedian who does give social commentary and speak for the people and punches up and tears down, sacred establishments and sacred individuals, I think we should encapsulate, embrace, and support that person. But they're going to do it because that's who they are, not because of their profession.
Right. So one of my many responses to Nod, I don't think it ever sticks, but again, if you can acknowledge, because when he says we shouldn't be critiquing them and handling them, we should handle the white folks. But if you can acknowledge that you are doing something and there's a social issue that's there and there's a critique, if you can acknowledge that these people are fucked up and they need to be critiqued, then how do you allow yourself to take the bag or take the money to do what you're doing? But any other responses to Jared, that idea of don't critique us, don't deal with us, like it's them, go holler at them.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say that with any field or any profession at the level of celebrity, the same function applies. So it doesn't matter, I think, whether you're a journalist or an academic or an activist or a comedian. Once you get plugged into the machinery at the level of celebrity, you are there to perform a certain function, and there are limitations to what can be done. I don't know to what extent Dave was faking it, but it may be just as much a function of that fact as anything else that explains his and many others' apparent shifts. But the only thing that comes to my mind real quick is that when I did the interview recently with Ntume Gant, and he checked me on my response initially to American Fiction, he made the point that his overall critique of that film, and he was correct, is that it's there as a defense mechanism for the Black bourgeoisie to say, similar to what Diallo and you have already been saying, don't look at us, don't be critical of us. We're doing the best we can, and we're stuck within our own limit, and it's meant to give them an excuse to continue making mistakes and the political treacheries that they continue to make. And I think that's what we're seeing again in a version of this here. In addition, so while I do think Dave is and others maybe just looking to defend the field of comedy just in general, I do think beyond that, certainly when it comes to the Breakfast Club and all of them, they're very happy to have people talk about.
That was the Breakfast Club getting him out of there.
The comedy Illuminati.
Comedy Illuminati.
He's ran afoul of the comedy Illuminati.
He's about to get all us. Go ahead, finish off.
No, that's it, man. Just that they're happy to have people talking about, condemn and criticize somebody else. Don't look at us, and continue to let us get away with what we're doing.
Oh, but I think it's more than don't look at us. It's like worship us and don't question us. Because I can respect somebody that says just leave me alone, but I can't respect you talking about leave me alone and you show up on my TV every day. You popping up on my algorithm every 10 seconds. You promoting a movie. So it's leave us alone, but worship us at the same time. The worldwide nigga net.
And my students keep bringing their ideas and views into my classes. So that's another reason why they got to get a little bit of this work, so to speak. Shout out to Loaded Lux.
Yeah, so
I was trying to find this little link because I don't want to go into another topic because we got a guest coming at 9. But there was a link of this sister having this because I think like we did play last week, people are learning something because she's actually coming before she speaks. She said, "Oh, I just learned this," and she started talking about it. And so I'm about to pull up the video where she linked the people that we forget about. Bayard Rustin and Fred Hampton should be celebrated.
And who is the she?
I'm about to post. Her name is Alexis Denise or something like that. But also she literally at the Origins film, which I didn't even know the Origins was out, or maybe they're talking about Origins and celebrating how good Ava DuVernay has done.
So I talked about Ava and Origins last night. So I can't wait to get the copy of the video. It was kind of funny last night. In my Dr. King talk, I shared an apocryphal meeting with Ava, Killer Mike, and Amy Schumer on a flight on the way to Bucknell. And I read up on Origin and what Ava's been saying about Origin. And she's bringing out all her Oprah PR background for this one.
I don't know. I might have been blocked because I can't find the video. My bad. Somebody did say I was going Diallo on the post. So,
What does that mean?
I mean,
That's a
come on.
good thing. Remember, that's a compliment.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
I'm a human being. I'm not a verb.
I need to take my bags and leave Geechee land and go to Dialloville. To be real, in
I'm not a Ville. I'm a hood.
Actually, I think maybe I can find it because I think I sent it to a few people. But discuss among yourself. Discuss among yourself. Let me find this video.
Oh, this is a high level production quality that you can expect on EYL.
I have to say,
like, share, and subscribe, everybody. Support the Patreon.
I have to say, Dr. Bell, if your car swerves off, I don't think I can refrain from laughing. So I just fast and pray that.
Well, I would hope. Yeah, I would hope.
Because I'm nervous. You're giving me anxiety, man.
No, I would hope that I would at least get. Well, I'm not driving. First of all, I hope we're clear on that.
You're not?
Yeah. No. That is in the hands of a very no. That is in the hands of a very competent gentleman. So no. I don't.
Okay.
That's not me. But I would hope I would at least get the what is it, the obligatory 5 to 10 seconds to see if he's okay before you start laughing. You would just go right to the laughing?
I've already laughed internally imagining it. Because you look, so if you was there like, hey, and I just can't help myself.
That's terrible.
Like, I'm a hurt person. What do you say about hurt?
Oh, right.
Hurt people person. And the weather don't look too clement.
No, it's not.
It's all gray skies. So like, if y'all hit a ice patch.
I don't know. Either she took the post down or she deleted me. So I don't know. I can't find the post.
So why don't you just tell us what she said, Geechee?
So she pretty much said like the civil rights.
He tells it wrong.
I'll let Diallo tell it since he's all knowing him. Anyway, so she talked about how like the civil rights messages are always co-opted by, I guess, the state, and they leave off people that are important. And so she starts to talk about calling Fred Hampton in the civil rights era. Fred Hampton, Bayard Rustin, and I actually forgot the third person. But what happened was I kind of like comment on merging the two, and I guess I did go a little bit hard, but then they was like somebody said you're doing a Diallo. And when I went back to find a post, I'm no longer there anymore. So
that's what happens when you go Diallo.
I tried Diallo approach and the shit didn't work. So I guess I'm gonna go back to Geechee land.
I'm not flattered.
You don't gotta be flattered. She wasn't flattered either. That's the problem. People don't get flattered whenever you give them your thoughts about
insights. No, I'm like Del Jones.
Outsights.
I do criticism with affection.
That's what you call it?
Yes.
Oh.
He tears into somebody. He says, "This is criticism with affection." And then he proceeds to tear you down. So.
I mean, I think what I wanted to do, let me see if we can get into a little bit of, maybe we can start something and then when the guests come, we can pause it. But recently, again, Diallo was killing us with the stories today. All his stories are making the top 10. So Mark Zuckerberg is apparently building a bunker in Hawaii. And I don't know if he's being prepared for the shit that he's been doing the last few years or what it is. But apparently it was 1.1 million or something like that. Is that the price?
No.
That's it.
Like
that sounds
tens
cheap.
of millions.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how much? No, my bad. 270 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say 1 million don't get you a bunker.
I'm a little off.
I get you one of them backyard bunkers. Remember you could order a bunker in the mail, a nuclear fallout bunker. Remember, back in the day.
Why is he building a $270 million compound in Hawaii that features a 5,000 square foot underground bunker? This 1,400-acre compound is located on the northeast side of the Hawaiian island of Kauai, between the tourist hubs of Kapa and Hanalei. The construction of such an extravagant compound has sparked curiosity and speculation among locals and the media alike. With the release of the movie Leave the World Behind, which explores the concept of survival in a post-apocalyptic world. Many are wondering if Zuckerberg's underground bunker is a precautionary measure against potential global disasters. If you decide to go see the compound, a 6-foot wall surrounds the entire area to block the view of outsiders looking in to see what's really going on. Security guards stand watch at the entrance gate 24/7 and also patrol the surrounding beaches on ATVs and trucks to keep it as secret as possible, which further raises the question on what Zuckerberg knows and what he is planning with this compound. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe real quick. On to what's believed to be within the gates, once construction is completed, is 12 buildings, with 30 bedrooms and 30 bathrooms, where the 2 main residences are reportedly connected by a tunnel, which also leads to the underground bunker, which is guarded by a concrete-filled metal door that is blast-proof in case of a nuclear blast. The underground shelter is believed to be over 5,000 square feet, and will...
We don't need no more of that. So as you can see, they have like some leave the world behind clips in there, and people have been kind of talking about that. But I'm curious how y'all feel about the idea of how it's received, right? People are, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful home, and there's 2 white men who actually look like Jeff Foxworthy and Larry the Cable Guy. I posted a video on Instagram, and they're pretty much talking about it, how he made the right decision, but they would have done even better. Like the wall is not high enough and all these other things. And then again,
I thought the same thing. 6 feet is too low.
I mean, they're gonna be in the underground, so I guess they all right. But the what he is saying or what he's preparing for, and then how people look at it as if like that don't really have nothing to do with them, other than the fact that, oh, that's what rich people do. Like, I don't know, Diallo, if you saw a bunch of reactions, but what kind of reactions have you seen to this bunker type shit?
The most common reaction that I've seen, if I had to put it in a sentence, is individuals or communities are looking at it as a wake-up call. So Mark Zuckerberg is this man who's out ahead of things. He's a forward thinker. He's a self-made billionaire. He has his hands on the pulse. He controls the internet and the algorithm. So if he's anticipating disaster, now it's really real. They don't listen to the fucking scientists and the climate scientists. They don't listen to the progressive and leftist economists like Richard Wolff. They don't listen to all these scholars and radical thinkers and social commentators who have telling them there's some severe and fixed issues that the current power structure, governments and multinational corporations refuse to fix. They don't listen to that, but then some, weirdo billionaire built a bunker, and now all of a sudden people are like, that's the wake-up call, when they've been ignoring wake-up calls for the better part of the last 20 years or more. So that's what really disturbs me about this.
I mean, I think they've been doing this kind of thing for a long time. The response to worsening inequality is not redistribution, it's preparation for war. So it stands to reason. So I don't know if this is being done in response to something in particular, or just the general understanding that Zuckerberg and them are part of a particular class that intends to continue to distinguish itself with a massive accumulation of wealth, and they're not going to share it. They're not going to redistribute it. And to the extent that I agree that they don't listen to the scientists, I think it's more that they don't listen to the scientists' suggestions and prescriptions, and they promote nonsense to discourage a discussion of what science is producing, so that they can continue to extract and distinguish themselves with all that wealth, and then build bunkers instead of redistributive systems that make everybody a little more whole and safe and sane. So It stands to reason. Good luck with that. And I mean, my whole thing is how what's it going to look like when they don't have anybody to bring them their tea and crumpets?
That's what I was thinking. That black security guard with that billy club, that's going to be the brother bunker within a half an hour after societal collapse. Why wouldn't that dude just take that billy club and be like, nah, this is my bunker now?
So
did you all see Leave the World Behind?
Yeah, I saw it.
Because the first thing I thought is if I'm Mahershala Ali coming home to my house with my daughter, it's not gonna go like the way it was going in that movie. Julia Roberts is gonna have a problem. Julia Roberts and her husband or whatever are gonna have a massive problem.
So listen, we're gonna pick back up. Wait, we're gonna pick back up to that. We're gonna pick. Yeah, they are. They behind that Anna Rustin film. But we're gonna pick back up.
And that's why my man said. That's why my man said Barack made it, because Michelle don't make it home. That's the whole point of the movie.
Oh, she's in the George Bush bunker. That's why she headed to Texas. He was like, "Baby, we got to head out to Long Island."
We cutting in on the time. We cutting in on the time. We cutting in on the time.
Down there with the bushes.
Diallo don't never stop.
Tapped into that bush.
Give me a second. Time out. Shoot. Got to mute y'all. Nah, so yeah, we can definitely get into more of that after we finish this interview, and maybe even talk about how Elon's and Zuckerberg's class position is set at the root of all the social issues that they're trying to run away from. But next, we got a brother coming on, a fellow CMB comrade, my brother Curtis. He has this event coming up tonight, right?
Yes.
Right? You hear? Okay. Yeah, and so
yeah, I can hear y'all.
Yeah, so in this event, like, kind of tell us what's going on. I know what I've looked into, the diversion and inclusion of the American Sociological Association is bringing y'all to talk about Cop City. And I did see it was under the Diversion and Inclusion Committee, so I thought that was interesting. I wonder how you feel about that. Maybe you have a relationship with them. Because my experience with those committees are normally like rooted in liberal undertones, but you'll be on a panel, and I'm pretty sure the conversation will come up. Well, would you feel better about a more included and diverse blacker Cop City? But go ahead and tell us about the event and then what you're working on.
Yeah, so good to be. Thank you for setting us up, Kichi. Good to be on here with you, brothers. Good to see y'all again. Hope you all doing well. It's always a pleasure. So how this event came about was one of my good friends, who is a professor at Morehouse, Dr. Tara Taylor. She's a member of, I think, the American Sociological Association. And she reached out to me maybe about a month ago because, some of my work with CMB and also Cop City Vote in the whole Stop Cop City campaign. She was like, hey, I want to interview you. And also, if you can invite someone to join the conversation, that'd be great. So that's why Mary Hooks, who is an organizer with the Movement for Black Lives, is a part of it as well too. So basically, it was kind of like they wanted to have a discussion on the Stop Cop City movement, the tactics we've used, our thoughts on some of the RICO charges. They also wanted to talk about like basically our position as or our movement toward international solidarity, given the genocide in Gaza, the genocide in the Congo. They wanted to kind of like, it was going to be kind of more like, a bit of an academic kind of discussion, but they still wanted to, really gain our input on our organizing work within this campaign and, and what our thoughts are about, the current state of affairs in the world.
Sorry. So I wanted to ask you another question and see if I can get you to argue with Diallo a little bit. So there's an article that you shared that talked about how the bill in Georgia that's aimed to suppress the activists on Cop City, their voices against Palestine, and we talked about how like fascism is more of a Republican thing as opposed to a Democrat thing. But I wonder, one, what's your thoughts on, especially being in a city that is led by Democrats, although the state is led by Republicans. What's this bill? what's happening here, and then again, how do you feel in terms of like the suppression of information or fascistic tactics against people who are trying to speak truth?
Yeah. So the bill is basically there. A lot of people within the Stop Cop City movement, one of the tactics we have used is putting up flyers. So oftentimes when you go to stop signs in Atlanta, you'll see the stop sign, and then right under you'll say, it'll have a stop sign, and it will say Cop City. So there's flyers all throughout the city. They've used billboards, a lot of different, what the city may call graffiti in certain areas to, protest and bring attention to the movement. So essentially they're criminalizing that effort. They're saying that is like some indication of some organized crime conspiracy. Interesting thing that they mentioned in this RICO indictment was that they plan on actually using political beliefs as something that they can start using, that the judge can start using when they actually issue the sentences. So I know you all had a big debate a long time ago where Jared and Diallo were debating about the person who founded the Crips out in LA, and how Arnold Schwarzenegger used his politics to justify his sentencing him to death. Well, essentially, this bill now legalizes that. They're saying that, if your politics are left wing, if you're anarchists, socialists, Black Lives Matter, whatever, and you're engaging in all these different movements that the state does not like, then we will use that against you and increase your sentence. Not only that, but essentially like the act of actually standing in front of the Georgia State Capitol now is being criminalized under the guise of loitering. So essentially they're trying to criminalize that movement. But on top of that, Georgia does have a Republican supermajority. And we have a lot of Christian Zionists down here. One of the first things that Governor Kemp, when he got reelected, he went to Israel and was kind of hobnobbing with them. So, the Republican Party is hardcore Zionists. So essentially, they've been very upset with a lot of the Free Palestine protests that have taken place. A lot of the protests have actually defaced, the Republicans, at least here in Georgia, favorite Confederate statues. So essentially, they definitely want to criminalize that. They definitely want to criminalize that movement. And one of the interesting things about Georgia was that Abby Martin, who is a journalist, used to be with RT, she actually brought a lawsuit here in Georgia because Georgia was one of the first states to criminalize the BDS movement and actually made it illegal for Georgia universities to invite people, who were supportive of the Palestinian cause. And I think a Georgia university invited her back maybe in 2018. The Georgia legislature, or because of the Georgia legislators' law, she was uninvited from the university, and she challenged that and actually won the lawsuit based upon First Amendment clause of freedom of speech. So Georgia is definitely a very Zionist state. The AIPAC lobby works heavily with the GOP here and the whole Christian Zionist movement. To criminalize Palestinian, the Free Palestine movement. And I think it's definitely, it's definitely a part of the GOP's pet playbook as far as the whole war on woke, because they're seeing a lot of the left now kind of, they were involved in Cop City, now they're involved in Palestine. So, these people are all terrorists. But as far as, fascism, Georgia, if you know anything, shout out to Dr. Gerald Horne. Dr. Gerald Horne talked about how Georgia originally was like a white-only state because they wanted to create a buffer between, South Carolina had slavery, and then Florida was a place where, a lot of enslaved Africans ran away to. So originally Georgia was it's going to be like a white-only state. But then slavery was legalized. I think even Greg Powell's talked about this in one of his documentaries about voter suppression. Slavery was legalized by one of Brian Kemp's ancestors back in 1736. And now Georgia has the second largest population of Blacks in the country. But Georgia has always been a fascist. It's always been a fascist place, even under the Democrats, because the Democrats were what you may call the Dixiecrats. But the Democrats for a long time ran Georgia up until 1996. And we had the Confederate flag, we had the lynchings, we had Jim Crow. We had the sundown towns. So, fascism is America. As what the political prisoners say, Jalil Alamein, violence is as America as apple pie. Well, fascism is as American as apple pie. So, I would say in some respects the Republicans are maybe more fascist, particularly when you add in the whole religious element with the Christianity. But it's bipartisan because both political parties support the police state, obviously support the military-industrial complex, and definitely support the genocide in Gaza.
Absolutely. So before we get to a video clip, any of you brothers want to ask Brother Curtis any questions so far? Jared or Diallo? All right. So this video is at our not so good brother Andre Dickens at a event where some speakers wanted to question him, and I'm gonna play this and then talk a little bit about it.
Via the Georgia International Law Enforcement Exchange. Is this a dispersal order? No. Okay. Moreover, why has the city of Atlanta not prioritized COVID precautions, including HVAC filters inside the building?
We have a roster.
Is this a dispersal order?
No, ma'am. We could get you to be on the comment, so you could actually.
Moreover, I don't believe in elections because we elect people like this, but why have you not acknowledged the hundreds of thousands of signatures to get Cop City on the ballot?
Ma'am, there's a sign-in sheet up there. If you would like to sign on that so you can make public comment. Otherwise,
is this not public?
Ma'am,
is this not the leadership of Atlanta? Am I not a constituent of Atlanta?
Ma'am, we would love to have you speak.
Contract via the Georgia International Law Enforcement Exchange. Is this a dispersal order?
No.
Okay. Moreover, why has the city of Atlanta not prioritized COVID precautions?
So, Brother Curtis, there's this idea, right? So right after they got her up out of there, Dickens was like, well, there's a process. She didn't put her name on the list, and only speakers who has their name on the list, they should be able to speak, and not people just come in and speak. There's an order, there's a process, right? So I want you to kind of speak to that, but then also speak to maybe the use of civil disobedience and when it is effective or ineffective, when it hurts or helps. But yeah, go ahead and respond to that.
Yeah, so that was one of those situations where obviously, the process was, the white cop showing up with the gun and pretty much evicting her. So because she didn't follow the process, that was what, she had to deal with. Essentially, like, I've been at City Hall, I've spoken to City Council, oftentimes even when you put your name on the actual, on the sheet for public comment, they'll close public comment or throw names off the sheet. They'll play all these little tricks. So when it suits them, the so-called rule of law will not matter. And then when you start to engage in so-called illegal acts, then you're a terrorist, you're all these different things. But essentially, the city of Atlanta does not give, frankly, two fucks about the rule of law, about democracy. I was a part of the whole ballot referendum initiative. I was out in 98-degree weather, getting Black people to sign the petition, just to put it on the referendum where they could vote on it. Collected, hundreds of signatures, and majority of the folks were supportive. Even if they were supportive of Cop City, they wanted democracy. The city has ever, spent millions of dollars suppressing that whole democratic effort. Coming up with little tricks and games, and having closed door meetings to prevent people from engaging in a process that actually is legal by the Georgia Constitution, because this ballot referendum has previously been used in Camden County when they were trying to build a space station down there. The citizens voted that the space station would not move forward, and the Georgia Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of this ballot referendum. Well, the city, pretty much their thing is that even though we approved the ballot referendum, this whole process is illegal. We want to continue to build Cop City. But yeah, so the city, but then on the flip side, we have all these banners. Oh, we celebrate Dr. King. We celebrate, nonviolent protests. They celebrate the legacy. And I would say they misrepresent the legacy of the civil rights movement, because a lot of the civil rights actions were dependent upon armed protection or armed self-defense. But they celebrate that legacy, but then right now here in Georgia, they're criminalizing it with all these RICO charges and domestic terrorism charges. So, I would say that the reason why the movement has been so successful is because of civil disobedience, is also because of more radical actions. I think, there was a Georgia legislator recently that said that, some of the property damage, and this is it's complete both, it's bullshit. But she said that the property damage that some of the people within the movement who are supportive of the movement have caused is close to $100 million. Now, I don't know where she pulled that out of her ass, but there's no way $100 million is how much the state is spending to build this, this destructive facility and chopping down the rainforest in a predominantly working class Black community. But to think that there's been $100 million worth of property damage that, some of the people, primarily in the anarchist community have been involved in is totally ridiculous. But, without that property damage, without police cars being burned, without motorcycles being burned, without construction equipment being destroyed, without Confederate houses where they used to display enslaved Africans as some lost cause mythology stuff at Stone Mountain Park, which is the largest Confederate memorial in the world. Without some of those things being burned, we wouldn't be here today talking about the movement, because those are the things that and gotten their attention. Oh, yo, you trying to bring up Killer Mike, I see.
No, you knocked it. Now, so that, speaking of Killer Mike and rappers, and there's this acronym GILLY, right? Could you speak a little bit more about the Georgia International Law Enforcement Exchange? What's its relevance, and then maybe even the connection to Cop City and Israel or Palestine?
Yeah, so the interesting thing about GILLY was that it actually started with Killer Mike's mentor, Andrew Young, back in 1986 here in Georgia, where, open white supremacist who was working at Georgia State was like, hey, we need to start, we got these people in Israel that are engaging in genocide and repression. Hey, how come we don't go to the OG genocider and, we'll collaborate together and, kind of share information and train together. So the GILLY program is basically kind of like a mutual police training effort where police officers all throughout the state of Georgia go to Israel. They literally will visit some of the Israeli prisons. They'll go to an office. They'll go to a satellite office by the ADL and learn about Israel. And then they will start to engage in really counterinsurgency tactics. Police officers, and again, some of these departments are rural police departments. They're not even major cities. And Georgia sheriffs will go there to learn, the Israeli tactics of repression and genocide. And also Israeli officers will come to America, come to Cop City, because the thing about Cop City is that it's going to train officers from all around the world. It's an economic development project being built for the Atlanta Police Foundation, so they can make money on police training and make money on militarizing police, and also make money doing all these propaganda shows, where, cops are, saving little babies, whatever, from burning buildings. That's why they're building a mock city, to start, so Hollywood, because Georgia is a major hub of the film industry. So they're going to plan on using Cop City to film all these different films. So Israel comes here to train with Atlanta, with police departments from all across the country, and vice versa. And the program really intensified after 9/11, when George Bush, under DHS, created this whole, basically, it was the war on terror. And as a result of that, essentially police departments were taught to look out for terrorists. And who are the terrorists? They are the anarchists, the environmentalists, the Black liberationists, the socialists. the Free Palestine people. And also, in Israel, they're waging terrorists, and in Israel, the terrorists are an entire group of people. So, it was just a kind of like a perfect kind of, I'm not gonna say perfect, but it was just it was an ideological match for the United States, particularly after 9/11, after the war on terror, to start, sharing information, sharing intelligence, with Israel, which is the 51st state of the United States, in order to wage counterinsurgency programs against the oppressed populations domestically.
Right. So one of the interesting things that I found out, so we're working on a research project here, that deep dive into Cop City, but also one of the side conversations was looking into the proposed prison that's being built in Fulton County. And so STV was one of the organizations that submit for the proposal. And when you look at their history, you see them actually was supposed to build the first humane prison in Israel, right? To get them away from a more brutal prison. They also got projects in Baltimore. They got projects in Texas. And they're building, again, these humane prisons. And even some in most of their contracts, it's a clause that if you boycott Israel at all, it would void the contract. So they have to show even solidarity in Israel in their contract as they try to build different prisons. So the intertwine between Israel, occupied Palestine, Cop City is just crazy. So but before we get into some environmental stuff, again, brothers, any questions or comments that y'all want to share with Curtis before we shift? No,
I'm just enjoying listening. This is good stuff.
Absolutely. All right, Diallo, you got anything? All right. So as your focus is more into the environment, right? You're one of those smart ecological persons, not focused so much on the economy. But so there's this green community certification that Atlanta did not get, right? Dickens claimed that they're going to reapply for it later and get recertified. Yeah, but could you talk more of this one, the green communities certification, and just again the ecological impacts to Atlanta? The forest is already cleared off, so that part is already done. But what are your thoughts and experiences, analysis around that?
Yeah, so Atlanta is the city under the trees. The particular area where they're building Cop City is the Atlanta Forest, which is it was the largest intact urban forest in the country. And that forest was something that the city promised in their city charter in 2017 that they would protect indefinitely. But that changed after the George Floyd rebellion when they decided, okay, we need to have urban warfare training zones so we can deal with these Black Lives Matter protesters. But essentially that forest is vitally important. Particularly as the city deals with climate change. I know many of you may have heard, back in October of 2023, Morehouse and I'm Clark, Atlanta. Like the dorms were flooding, and that's because of the rapid development of Atlanta. That we've lost a lot of our tree cover. We lost a lot of our trees, and Atlanta, according to CNN now, has some of the highest heat inequality in the nation primarily due to redlining, where essentially like historically white communities have way more trees than traditionally Black communities. And again, where they're building Cop City is actually in unincorporated DeKalb County, which is the largest Black county in the country. And they had no say over how their land was developed, because essentially the city of Atlanta owns that land. So now, as a result of the city clearing 80 acres of forest, there has been massive flooding in this community, where you go down the street, there's flooding, and that was one of the things that a lot of environmentalists have warned about, was that you're building this facility right near the South River, which is it's the second most endangered river in the country. It is, and you're also building it in a predominantly Black community. So this is a case of environmental racism. Not only on top of that, you're building this right near 3 prisons. So like, often, I had the disprivilege of driving by Cop City maybe about a couple months ago, and it's like a war zone. You cross over to the train tracks, you see cop cars everywhere, you see prisons. I mean, it felt like it was eerie. I mean, it just felt like it was extremely eerie just to see, like, the police training facility, and then these youth prisons and these reentry facilities. It's like, damn, this is like some, like, it's like a massive, like, just political repression camp, concentration camp in one centralized area right in a historically Black community. It's going to destroy the South River. It's going to cause a lead water crisis because police are going to be, firing guns out there nonstop. There's actually a school. It's a reformatory school where some of the bad kids go, i.e. Black kids, go, to get alternative learning. So they're going to be hearing nonstop gunshots. There's going to be nonstop explosions. There's going to be helicopters. All the lead from all those, from the police firing off their guns at will is going to seep right into the water supply. When it rains, because there's no tree cover, it's going to increase the temperature in the area, which, a lot of Black people cannot afford AC because of structural racism, because of low wages. So a lot of elders are going to die of heat stress, particularly as the temperature continues to rise. And then, because there's no trees, when we do get these catastrophic storms, which we will continue to get because of the climate crisis, the areas are going to flood, and they're going to flood in these Black communities. So, so Cop City is definitely ecological disaster. And they're doing this intentionally. And shout out to the comedian Roy Wood Jr. I saw him. He did a comedy show here in Atlanta this summer. It was good. He was like, yeah, because he was actually one of the first ones to interview Jasmine with CMB on the Daily Show. He did that whole kind of little funny skit talking about Cop City and how, would you support Cop City if Tyler Perry was building it? And he's like, yeah, you need to tell the mayor that they need to build Cop City in Lake Lanier. And the funny thing about Lake Lanier, I guess, homegrown joke is that, that's where white folks go to die. Whenever they have their little cookouts there, their little 4th of July parades, somebody dies or somebody drowns. Right. So they're building this, in a Black community, because, they can, and because the residents there don't have any say-so in the matter. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a sacrifice zone, unfortunately, to build this corporate monstrosity.
So in a nerd fashion, someone, I think D. Lewis, reminded me of how the U.S. is dealing with botanical sexism, right? And then we talked about this a while ago, how female trees are almost illegal at this point. But I wonder how the clearing of that forest, if there were any female trees on there, and then what that would mean in terms of for the little female trees that was there. But that comment made me think of that. But another comment also. So what we talk about often in the research that we're doing, the revenue coming in is from the city annually paying for the space, outside agencies paying for the space, foundations using it for donor events and birthday parties. But the other one is they also discuss opening up for studios to film there. So as you talked about Tyler Perry, Ava DuVernay, and those people, can you speak more about that idea of movie studios and how it's going to be used? What you have heard? I think Tyler Perry, I don't know if he ever mentioned much, but he does a lot pro-police type shit. But yeah, could you speak more to that?
Yeah. So actually, the area that they're building Cop City in is the South River Forest. And in that area, there's another developer that is actually, I think, Ryan Millsap. He's like some wealthy developer that also has been fighting with the city with DeKalb County for years. Because the land is supposed to be like a protected green space. but he's been trying to turn it into a Hollywood studio. So actually, where they're building Cop City, they're trying to build a Hollywood studio right next to it. So essentially, and I think that's intentional because as you mentioned, that they plan on, shooting propaganda, propaganda films there. Maybe they'll shoot Bad Boys 6, whatever, there. So so definitely, definitely a lot of these filmmakers are going to be using Cop City in the mock city that they're building there, to make propaganda, and it's going to be, it's going to be slick, it's going to have fires and, and again, because like they're turning, they're building like a fake apartment building. So yeah, it'll be like, some cop, saving little babies and dogs from burning building, and this is why Blue Lives Matter, blah 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 blah. So yeah, of course they'll be woke about it. They'll make sure they have Tyler Perry, who is a very, a very strong supporter of police. I think even white conservatives on Twitter were shouting him out. Because he was like, oh, I'm totally against defund the police. So yeah, they'll allow him to use it. Because essentially, Tyler Perry, the place where he's at now used to be a Confederate military base. And now, and the U.S. military, sold it to him. So essentially, like, he uses, state-funded areas, for his, for some of his bad films, essentially. So yeah, he will be invited there. It will definitely be a place where, because the film industry is so heavy here. I mean, you had Ice Cube. He shot that film with Kevin Hart here in I think it was one of those Ride Along, something like that. He shot that here in Atlanta. So you're going to see more and more of that. And now, because they have their mock city to do it in, and they get all their tax breaks from the local state government, and also because Georgia's a right to work state, so you can get really cheap labor. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that in the next coming years. So yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question or there's another aspect, but yeah, that's definitely what they plan on doing.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you
I
for
can't wait.
coming on. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, I definitely appreciate the discussion, but I just can't wait for Tyler Perry's film made at the movie studio in Cop City about the history of Cop City, and we can get his version of the protests, and we can see who would they cast as Kamau.
They gonna get Killer Mike. They gonna get Cat Williams to do that.
It might be worth having a Cop City if we can see a bunch of pigs in shitty wigs.
Lord.
Lord. But
pigs
Brother
and wigs. Oh no, I've
Curtis,
just changed my vote. I want to support Cop City.
There you go. We appreciate you, brother. Any final things you want to share? I did have the link in the comments, and also pulled it up for people if they want to register for the event tonight. But anything else you want to share with us before you bounce?
No, I'm not. Someone asked a question. I don't know if you want to address that. That you're like, oh, can Curtis be something? If you want. I'm not trying to interject in your time. But definitely check out the seminar tonight at 5:00. It's free. It's online. It's going to be the great discussion. About Cop City. Essentially the war on the radical left. That's the most important thing that I want to really kind of drive about this, is that, a lot of this stuff that's happening with the Stop Cop City movement is coming from the top. It's coming from the Biden administration. It's coming from his domestic terror agenda that was implemented after January 6th. And also, from the FBI and the national security state's focus on anarchists, on so-called eco-terrorists, some of the people that, were featured in How to Blow Up a Pipeline. All those folks are now, the new domestic terrorists. And of course, they're left-leaning. So yeah, we definitely have to target them. And we have to criminalize them, RICO them, hit them with domestic terrorism charges, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely check out the seminar tonight. It'll be great. Thank you again. for having me on. You know, y'all do great work, and please definitely Black Power listener support. Hit the super chat. You know, yeah, thanks again for having me on.
Nah, we
Thanks a lot.
appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
We appreciate you. I was just trying to make Jared afraid because you was gonna replace him if he didn't show up today, but he get to live another day, man. He get to live another day.
That's why I gotta. That's why I gotta get on. That's why I gotta get the camera set up in the car. Get on my phone. It's rough out here. But I
Earn
appreciate
your
you.
liberation.
Thank
Appreciate you,
very
brother.
much. Yeah.
Take care.
All right. So, what y'all got? What you got, Diallo? You was quite quiet.
I got. Who are we gonna play? Kamau in the Cop City.
Yo, nah, that
Bad
drink
wig
here
and
too
all.
dark to come out. He gonna have to get some gray highlighters in his.
You know they
head, man,
can't
to
use
become-
somebody who look just like them. They need somebody with screen appeal.
That's why I'm advocating Cat Williams. He popping right now too. If you trying to make it to the big screen, get Cat. Cat doing numbers nowadays. What you talk about? But yeah, so I don't know if we want to pick back up before our next joint on a little bit on this idea of Zucker bunker. And so one of the things I was looking at was how Zuckerberg is in bed with, as everybody know, but with the Atlantic Council. And I just wanted to kind of like go through the Atlantic Council and kind of look at their leadership. And in particular, let me pull this up right quick. So in particular, these are some of their leaders. These four. And and all of them obviously European. So you got a Dutch and Northern German CEO. You have a Zionist executive director.
And remind us again what the Atlantic Council is.
So they're a think tank who pretty much I guess run cover for Zionists for real, but they are part of they're connected with Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg to kind of like censor all the radical left people and try to get leftist talk off of the internet. But yeah, what I was saying, so this one executive director, she has this claiming of like being for Black folks, but at the same time she's also advocating for Black and brown babies to be, murdered across the globe. You also have a COO who is married to actually an Indian model minority, a created model minority, who's run cover for Obama and Biden. And then again, you got another North German CFO. But again, you see the people like Mark Zuckerberg in bed with these type of people, which he's doing it himself too. But the thing that they're kicking up, again, they're running from. And so I guess before Curtis came, I was saying like how to have conversations with people to make them aware that these people are literally running from, while you're celebrating their bunker and how nice it looks, they're literally running from shit that they create, right? They literally create the conditions that people will rise up and fight against, and then they created, but now they have enough money that they took from the labor to pretty much hide out. So I wanted to get y'all thoughts about, again, like Diallo said, I know you heard your reactions was a certain type of way, but how do you begin that conversation explaining like what is this person running for and why it impacts us and what we should do about it, as opposed to sitting around and gawking at what his money can buy?
Well, it kind of annoys me that especially in the hood, Bill Gates and what's the other one they love to call on? I've been accused of taking his money. What's his name? The billionaire.
Soros.
Yeah, George Soros, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. It amazes me that people can call out these individuals, but not the system that creates them. And so we have a lot of the same people that talk about securing the bag, generational wealth, and entrepreneurialism, basically pro-capitalist stance and capitalist solutions to Black problems. will then turn around and understand, or maybe not understand, just on some broken clock shit, to understand that the capitalists are the problems and the elite capitalists are really at the root of most of the problems. But I do think that Jared hit the nail on the head when he said the rich people have always done this, whether it's an underground bunker or some high tower behind the castle walls. Rich people with more money than they need tend to, number one, spend it on frivolous shit. And they, number two, good morning. And number two, they tend to become extremely paranoid. I don't know if you've interacted with someone of like immense wealth, like interacted with them in the real world. It literally drives people insane. It in this system, you know, massive wealth accumulation and holding and sustaining and expanding wealth warps your brain. And we've seen the studies where they would just do a simple monopoly game, where they would give one monopoly player double or triple the money, and they'd allow one monopoly player to have 3 roles to the other people's 1 role. And within the course of one monopoly game, those people start to exhibit psychopathic behavior, and they start to assert that they're winning the game because they're so much better and so much more astute than the other players. You know, this is understood, which is why a lot of sane and rational policymakers always try to limit concentration and accumulation of wealth at the top. It is disruptive to society. And the one thing I want to leave is that these bunker and dig yourself a hole and jump in it throughout human disasters and catastrophes have not fared well for the people in the bunkers. As the most recently research of Dr. Orlov stated, the natural inclination for people to disasters and massive breaks is to come together and cooperate. And the level of cooperation within the society is a determinant of how well people endure and how soon they can come out of calamity and catastrophe, not necessarily of how big the walls are or how deep the bunkers are.
Pause. All right, let's play.
I didn't deserve that.
You did.
No.
Let's play Jeff Foxworthy and Larry the Cable Guy real quick.
We have weak leadership in the United States. We have social disruption around the world, with countries trying to take over other countries, Russia trying to take over Ukraine. When Trump was in office, you would have never saw that, because we had a very strong president that was like, no, you're not going to do that. But when we have weak leadership in the United States, we see a lot of disruption around the world. And we have a very weak leadership right now. And we're seeing these conflicts flare up worldwide that, you know, with the United States being the world's police, you know, there's so much going on that we can't police everything. We can't support all of the different countries that we would normally support with arms or with soldiers or financially.
You know, it's funny because I'm kind of lean more toward the libertarian side of things in a way, but when it's global disruption, it will affect us.
It will.
And so there, you know, so I see it, and you're right. And the problem is with weak leadership, there's somebody pulling the strings in the background.
Yep.
And what is their agenda? What are they doing? And so that really, and people that are unelected, people that are just appointed, or it's just part of the deep state. And so there's a lot going on right there. I mean, we saw with January 6th, you know, we talked about this last week, but, you know, they just made, after 3 years later, they just made like 200 arrests, people that were just there on the ground. And there's just some political persecutions that are going on that, you know, are foreign to the public eye in the United States. We haven't.
All right, we don't need no more Larry the Cable Guy. But so when you think about, and we've made the line quite often of how some supposing black nationalists will land their plane in the same place those people land their plane. They might not use those same words, but would you have an example of like how, you know, maybe a Umar or Tariq Nasheed or whoever, although they might not say those exact words, like how do they end up kind of landing their plane agreeing with these people? Like, because I mean, I don't even know who the hell these two men are, but I did see them while I'm looking up this Mark Zuckerberg shit. And when they said that shit, I was like, it's interesting. But how do you see some of the black versions of what the fuck they just said? Either one of y'all.
Well, this whole, again, this bunker mentality, I got in trouble when all this not fucking around coalition and Huey P. Newton gun club and RBG gun club, and everybody was like, get guns for some impending catastrophe, as if we weren't in the thralls of a multi-generational, multi-century catastrophe, but there was some impending thing. Umar is running around talking about the migrants are brought here to replace us, and that they're bringing in the migrants. So he's definitely jumped in the whole open borders, border crisis. Dr. Fubar, I'm sorry, with all whom I respect, is pushing a lot of reactionary, xenophobic nonsense. And I was just talking to some brothers because of the ongoing conflict between Texas and the Justice Department about cutting the illegally erected razor wire fences at the Mexican border, which doesn't allow the federal agents to basically execute their mandates. And people are like, oh, they're cutting the razor wire. And a lot of black people are like, oh, that's it. This is an act of war. And we got to arm ourselves. And the right-wing reactionary sheriff was telling citizens to arm themselves, and black people really took that and ran. So there is, I mean, we're part of the same system of indoctrination as the white masses are. It's for a different outcome, but the same source to the propaganda. So there's jingoistic, arm yourself, bunker mentality, impending doom mentality has impacted us. And there are a lot of leaders who profit from selling this whole, there's this impending doom, and the only way to solution is to, in some way, validate, enrich, or strengthen my position to save yourself.
Yeah, I hear a little bit of an overlap in some of the discussion over preparedness. There does sometimes sound to be some similarities with and sometimes even with buy my courses or buy my prepared boxes or whatever. What is it? MREs and stuff like that. There's sometimes it seems like it feels like a little bit of an overlap, but obviously the analysis is garbage, and I don't understand. From what I heard in that clip, it would seem to me it would have been more likely that Trump would have been riding in with Putin, not stopping him. I mean, they seem buddied up, so I don't know what that part was, but either way, it seems to me if things really collapse, like to the level of leave the world behind and whatnot, bunkers and MREs and go bags are only going to be so valuable. So it would seem to me, if the goal is to survive, we need to be more aggressively about the business of organizing some massive power shifts. But
I just think it's funny that a brother in a self-driving car is talking about leave the world behind. I mean, you got
hey, I'm on my way to my bunker. So but I'm hoping enough of you will survive to be able to deliver me my rap snacks.
I also think there's so much focus on collapse and not enough focus on erosion, because that tends to be, we recognize the collapse because it's calamitous and it's big and there's fireworks and explosions, but the erosion is the real problem, and the erosions are the part where you can kind of engage in such a way that can mitigate, correct, or even reverse some of these issues. But it's not really sexy to talk about erosion, because to identify and engage with the erosive elements in societies that precede the collapse, it doesn't lend itself to Hollywood theatrics. There's no costumes. There's no big armaments. There's no trenches. There's no stockpiling. A lot of times it is engaging with your neighbors, engaging with your larger communities, engaging with bureaucracies and policymakers and implementation. And so that's just not anything that people would rather focus on a coming collapse 20, 30, 40 years down than take 20 minutes out of their day to really educate themselves about the components of and the structures of oppression, exploitation, and ecocide and things of that nature. So I do think we're in the thralls and in the depths of erosion and corrosion as opposed to collapse.
Right.
Hey, shout out to Dante. I think I saw who said that that's what I'm saying. I would order Grubhub for my bunker too. That's what I'm saying. How are we going to get our Grubhub deliveries?
No, listen.
And then you have to tell dude, listen, drop it at the door and go away. Because
Exactly.
No, but y'all gonna miss the whole point. No, because when I'm Grubhub, I ain't going down by myself. So that burger you gonna eat is gonna take you out. That's just how it's gonna be.
So that's the flip side. That's my point. If I was the delivery person in that scenario, again, it's a problem. That's why I said Julia Roberts and her man, it doesn't look good for them if I'm coming home to my house.
Some wild
Man,
shit.
that movie's so Obama. But again, I have to emphasize whenever, and this is what tends to happen. If you know anybody who's into survivalists, they always identify the scenario they like and hyper focus on the scenario, whether it is foreign troops invading America, whether it is nuclear holocaust, whether it is apocalypse coming, divine apocalypse, rapture. And they put all their resources and efforts into just one or two scenarios and forget all and do not prepare, because a disaster can mean hunker down in place, or in the case of a meltdown, it can mean gather up your essentials and move somewhere. So if you got a bunker, and so catastrophes could mean you have to isolate and separate from someone because of a disease, or we all have to come together and do a head count because of some type of environmental earthquake or some other natural disaster. So there's so many scenarios that
in that movie though, the black affluent couple didn't have a bunker. They had a basement, but the white man, redneck, he actually had a bunker, right? The one with the gun, and they needed to get medical help.
Well, I don't know that we ever know what for sure Kevin Bacon had, because we don't get to see inside, if I remember correctly. But it suggested that he's prepared for the long haul, medically.
Right. Well, they said he was a prepper. But again, the only thing that determines whether, if you look at the fallout from Fukushima, if you look at Hurricane Katrina, if you look at the collapse of the Soviet Union in the 90s, the only thing that really, where we go back to, are able to assess the fallout, it's the people who cooperated, coordinated, and shared mutual support. They had the best outcomes. If you look at the researchers or even the interviews of various people, nobody was like, old man Jones went into a hole and came out better than before. That just is not the case. That humans are the most socially oriented and socially dependent primates in existence. So isolating yourself in a hole, we just saw what happened with the pandemic and mental health. So I just hope that, I just think it's unfortunate that these whole bunker, arm yourself and hoard resources people have taken over the preparedness movement or preparedness outlook.
Is that Wi-Fi gonna work down there though?
I'm sorry, the overthrow of the USR. Okay, people want to.
But remember, because I watch Warrior Class, I know that it's better to bug in with a cat than a dog. Because remember, when you're hiding out, cats will point to a problem quietly as opposed to barking and causing a scene. So
the cat ain't gonna put. The cat will move on its own. The cat's there for self. The cats are for self. And I say that as a cat lover.
Yo, you seen that it was like a skit of a man trying to prepare his daughter for having a cat, and he was like, "You don't need a cat," and then he went by the sink and he kept pushing the glass off because he said how cats are just do weird shit or mean shit just because. But maybe he was quietly pointing to some shit and he really didn't want to.
Can I say something about the end of the world though? Leave the world behind. Remember, he was still protecting dude's identity throughout the whole movie, even though he's like, I can't say his name. And the dude was picking cotton at night. He was still fulfilling the fundamental obligations of his job after his job no longer exists. He was still on his job. It's going to be some people out here still trying to secure the bag after the bag burst into flames or is radioactive. That's the scariest part of that movie. Because I'm like, why does he keep protecting? I work for a man whom I can't name. Like even the dude is like, yeah, this shit is a wash. I'm out. So that's what scares me. People
is Diallo shit. I ain't never know Emma had a cat on her. That's Diallo slandering cats. I don't like cats.
I love cats, but I ain't gonna lie on cats. I'm not gonna let people lie on cats. If you think a cat's gonna come tap you on the shoulder like, yo, it's some shit going down, the cat would have left. And there.
A goat will. A goat gonna tell him.
Balagoon said they just point quietly. They just look in the direction of the issue and then they just stay quiet.
Yeah, that's true. But not for your benefit. You gotta watch the cat because the cat, because the cat's not gonna alert you, right? But who wants to spend all day staring at a cat?
Yeah, me and cats, we don't get along. They cool if they do their own thing by themselves, but I don't.
Oh, it's just, man, our ancestors, the Egyptians, venerated cats.
Yeah, they did.
They ain't finding mummified dogs. They ain't finding mummified golden retrievers. Give me a cat over a Rhodesian Ridgeback any day.
Do we have another guest coming on? Is that actually what's happening?
Yeah, we got another guest coming at 10. I was going to try to stall. We only got 3 minutes, but we got one more story too, I think. One more thing to get into. But maybe we can even play that clip, and then if he comes in, we could.
Well, our executive producer's mad at us.
Who that?
Not Zay.
Who's our executive producer? This isn't.
Y'all didn't hire an executive producer because dude been in the comments complaining.
Wait, which topic? The cats? Bring in the cats.
Get a late pass.
Bring in the cats. Why you ain't got that drop?
Which topic? I don't know. Which topic?
I think he started from the day we started. From the moment we went live, he's been complaining that we
bring in the cats
about nothing.
Yo.
Okay, my bad.
And you know what's worse than talking about nothing? Listening to nothing. So I don't understand why this dude is voluntary.
Wait, Jackie like cats over dogs? No, we ain't got no cat slander. We just, I ain't know. Wait, hold on.
Oh man, don't get Jackie riled up out here, man.
I thought she liked dogs.
Give me a moment.
Whatever Jackie likes, I like. Don't.
Oh, she is a dog mama, see? So, all right, while we wait for our guests, top 3 animals that you identify with or like. You go first, Jared.
Well, now for me, after I saw What the Health and my ego was fed, I'm all about the rhino, the gorilla, and the elephant. The 3 biggest, strongest animals all are vegan.
I like.
So that's me right there. That's my 3.
What's your top 3, Diallo? Top 3 animals.
Domestic house cat.
That's it?
Well, that's one. Well, my son asked me years ago what my favorite animal was, and I think the domesticated house cat. I love whales as a species. I love whales overall, but the blue whale is probably an animal that I really love. And then after that, ants.
Ants.
The biggest to the
that's
smallest.
A good one.
You know what?
I'm not even gonna the strongest on the planet and smart.
I'm not even gonna hate. Mine is a goat. Is one, and I actually do like ants, the ants in Costa Rica, they work all the time, and they work together collectively. Early in the morning, they just be working. I like them. And then my third one
Although
will
it's a lot of
probably
mindless. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad, my bad. What's your third one?
probably be an elephant. I do like elephants. I like smart elephants.
The only
They-
reason I got an issue with the ant situation though is it's the mindless labor. It's the mindlessness of the labor.
Right, right.
But yeah, they are.
What makes it mindless?
Because aren't the workers just blindly
It's
following the
purposeful,
signals?
but it's purpose. Yeah, it's
I understand it's
hormone.
purposeful, but
It's,
they're
it's
not.
biochemical communication,
Okay.
but it's
Well,
it's more it's very purposeful. What I would
We'll
imagine
we'll pick.
Purposeful, not mindless in the sense of purpose, but mindless in the sense of not having any, I guess, consciousness or benefiting. They're alienated from their labor.
Let's not get arguing about ants. We'll
sorry.
get back to it. We'll get back to it. So my next brother is coming up. Another CMB brother, another strong organizer. Let me pull up this flyer right quick. And this is what's going on. Namibia and Palestine's collective. Brother Torval, could you tell us how you're doing and then tell us what you got going on? The event is coming up. Is it Monday or next week?
Yeah, how y'all doing? Yeah, so this event's coming up this Sunday, 10 a.m. US Eastern Standard Time. So I kind of wanted to, the idea came to us, end of last week, and I sort of kind of quickly, strung together some of my connections to see if we can make something happen. Most definitely, it's been fortuitous the timing because of the ICJ ruling today. And again, most of us don't particularly care about some of these things. We know they've made rulings against apartheid before, and it actually is the people on the ground who have to do the fighting. No matter what the community and solidarity can do, it was the ones on the ground who have to fight. But at the same time, it's a fortuitous time. People are talking about it, and I think that with Namibia in particular, it's a struggle that people know. Some of particularly a certain generation knows because the anti-apartheid struggle. But how can we reintroduce that to a newer generation of activists who are paying attention to Palestine? Because again, as many of you know, say what you want to say, these protests for Palestine have been really unprecedented in the United States and the world. And I think it's a time to kind of, open up avenues for more conversations, which I think we can have. So it'll be 10 a.m. this Sunday, which will be 5 p.m. that side in Africa. So we kind of did it on purpose so that their time can be centered because of the time differences.
Yeah, definitely. So as you talk about some of the organizers and you talk about online activists, and I want to play this video real quick. I know people saw it. It made its rounds. And after that, I want you to respond to, again, the idea of conflations of what's genocide, what's not genocide. You have German occupation of Namibia. You have the Israeli people occupied, and you have all these things, and people are not conflating. But this young person seems like they was struggling with some stuff. Let's hear it.
And I would like to use the rest of my time to say how appalled I am that people are bringing up the Holocaust. Do not use other genocides to describe this one. I have been...
So go ahead and share like the significance between Israel, Namibia, Palestine, Namibia, and just people's conception of what is atrocities, what's worth struggling around, and how we value, I guess, life.
So maybe just a question to kind of clarify. That's the first time I've ever seen that video. So I haven't seen. Am I even sure what the context is per se of that video?
So it's a supposedly Israeli activist who's telling them they can't compare the genocide that happened there to the genocide happened now, and she called it a genocide in her mind mistakenly. They called it a Freudian slip, but then somebody's started laughing. She's like, oh, but just this idea of this hard live contradictions of trying not to call this a genocide, but then in the same thing with Germany and Namibia, like they just now apologizing almost 100 years later with this weak ass apology with some money we talk about later. But yeah, just the contradictions of us, how we valuing what is worth having an uprising organized against, and what is just should be
I
forgotten?
understand another question. I understand. Okay, so let me try to I'm trying to get better with my timing, or else I'm just going to go on, and I can't be complaining about certain people talking too much when I'm doing the same. So I'm going to give myself a little timer. So let me answer it this way. As you know, there are different wings in liberation struggles and the different orientations behind how an articulation of a struggle has to happen. So if you take, for example, like the book that I just wrote last year, that came out last year, some of us, at least me, kind of align ourselves with like a Black consciousness tradition, right? So the Black consciousness tradition never understood the problem as apartheid. It was white settler colonialism. Because what apartheid ended up becoming was to say, well, it's just the Boers who came in 1949, 48, but everything else before was okay, in like 1913 Land Act and everything, etc. You know what I'm saying? So even how we name and phrase some of these things, and then the terms of genocide, even how genocide is created as a term, right? We've always known these things have happened. It's just the Europeans who had to tell themselves. You feel me? In the wake of World War II, in the wake of the real horrors that did happen, and not just to the Jews. We had, of course, the Roma people. We had homosexuals, LGBTQ community, right? The mentally handicapped, right? Many people were dying, right? And things were happening, right? And so I think, yes, it comes out of that particular context. But what did M.S. Cesar say? He said the only reason people are calling these horrors is that Africa has been living this stuff before. M.S. Cesar basically saying is that this has been what people are actually angry with the Germans about is you brought the realities of colonialism to Europe's back door. That's what people were angry with you about. Keep that shit with the colonies. You know what I'm saying, right? But I think from our perspective, we are fighting white settler colonialism, right? And so for me, I try not to get too wrapped up in some of these terms because at the end of the day, for example, I come from the SWAPO movement on my father's side, right? We went to the International Court of Justice. People didn't do shit. Yes, they made some rulings, but the actual fighting had to be us on the ground and our comrades and colleagues like yourselves in the diaspora. That's who won the war, right? And even then, there were contradictions in the winning, as many of us know. And that's part of what this Sunday is going to bring. We have a group of younger activists now who are now leading what I want to call like a second Namibian liberation struggle, a newer generation now that's pushing things in ways that even some of us in the Southern African liberation context are having to grapple with in very interesting ways. So for me, I think some interesting questions are to say, for example, in Namibia that supposedly is liberated, one of the guest speakers who's coming on, she's a young sister who organizes in the anti-gender-based violence movement, in the LGBTQ struggle, right? As well as a host of other decolonial struggles. She's the one who led a movement in Windhoek, the capital of Namibia, to take down the statue that was in downtown Windhoek of that genocidal maniac. And imagine that in SWAPO being in government, that thing was up there even since independence. And there's reasons why that was the case, right? Given the global power of white supremacy and even the fact that we had to negotiate some of our independence, given the fall of the USSR, some interesting contradictions. We have to kind of understand these different things. So I think that to answer your question, part of what I want to reframe, what I want to kind of more say is that I'm not trying to get wrapped up in that conversation. What I want to focus on, what do we have to do to organize ourselves here to free Palestine? You feel me? And some of these white folks there, they're going to say what they're going to say because for them, they're white settler colonialists. So for them, they're going to always justify their rule, right? So you know what I mean? And so I think with us, the question is, what are we doing on the ground that's actively combating that, right? So that's more maybe in a broad sense how I would try to answer that, is to say that certain lives, of course, for them it won't matter because they're white settler colonialists, right? So these things make sense. But for us, we need to be focused, our eye on the prize, as it will, which is liberating our people in Palestine as we liberate ourselves where we are at.
Definitely. So you kind of hit on it just now, but just for clarity, could you connect? So obviously the rebellion from 1904 to 1908, as the Namibians was fighting against European colonial rule, connect that to Palestine, and then also connected to Africans here in the U.S. And then particularly even in Atlanta, the struggle in Atlanta. Could you kind of do the connection? Because I know if we hear people be like, "Oh, why we worry about Palestine and what about the African people and all this other stuff?" But just kind of like quickly connect the three.
Shoo! You give me what, like 3-4 minutes? I mean, I'm a try, brother.
Take your time.
So let's try it this way. So let me answer it in two ways. Am I able to share screen here?
You should be. If you can't, if you can't, I can send it to me.
I was just gonna put up a map of Namibia. To be honest, I think people need to see these things. I'm a big believer in, and maybe
All right, I can find the map and pull it up.
myself. Just like maybe not right now, but like I'm trying to see. Let me see. Share screen. I think I see it. Share screen. Dismiss. Okay, I think I see it. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to share screen right now, but basically what I wanted to first say, though, I want to say to people who do say that, right, is I want to say a few things, because I do disagree a little bit with some of the discourse out there that Black folk are not caring about this enough, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, of course, there's many of us who don't know and need to be educated, et cetera, right? But I think that if you think historically in the United States, we have been their greatest ally. And particularly if you think about the Palestinians who have been particularly having to live in Lebanon, Egypt, Syria, Saudi Arabia, all those countries there in the wake of 1948 and even previous attempts to kick them off their land. I think given as allies go, we stand among the top, I think, and very loyal to them. I think we've done an outstanding job. I think there's a difference between talking about people understanding that it's a problem and what does it mean to actually be in community with and organizing with people. So to take it back to Atlanta, for example, this is a segregated city. You know, this is an apartheid city. You know what I'm saying? You Palestinians and Arabs and like regular, say Afro-American folk, I should say, because you have Afro-Caribbean, you've got second, third generations, right? You've got interesting peoples in Atlanta, right? That make up blackness here, right? They're not living together. And the few interactions that they have day to day are not in necessarily great instances under an apartheid government, right? That does actually segregate people, right? So when certain people are having certain questions, we can't divorce the material reality from why they're asking questions, right? So it depends on who we're talking about, right? I'm not looking at the mainstream Black, liberals for guidance here, right? In terms of like the people on the block and what some of them are saying as we're mobilizing on these streets, right? So I think on one level, we have to answer that question on the streets. And the question that I have, for example, is, are we able to mobilize here, right? So in 2020, are the Palestinians in the street with us? Or is it just us? And if not, why? Not to necessarily flame them. It's just to say, well, why wasn't that the case? To actually analyze it. And then as organizers, how can we begin to now take this moment to bridge that gap? Because Palestine will not be free as long as the United States is alive. Because they're going to defend them to the death. So the ones you need to be mobilizing with is us, right here, because we're the main. So that's just normal. So I think let's just put that there. But to talk about some of the broader connections as you had, now maybe we'll share screen really quickly to kind of just try to do this very fast to kind of give some folks some context for Sunday. And on Sunday, I'll do this again, but very much I want the others who are there to have their voices centered. Can you guys see this screen?
Yep.
Okay, so real brief, I'm gonna try to do this as fast as I can to make sense. As many of you know, I want people in their minds to basically look at these borders and then imagine them that they don't exist, right? All these borders are fictitious. What is more important are some of the weather patterns in some of these places here you see, where you see more green than others, right? That tells you where people are going to be bunched up. That tells you where people are going to be moving from, right? Europeans begin to kind of land in this area where Cape Town is, roughly around in the 1500s. The Portuguese come first, eventually the Dutch, and eventually they begin to compete with each other to kind of take lands from Africans up in this area. Many of you know about Sarah Baartman, right? And so if you think of Sarah Baartman's ancestors, right? The San, the Khoikhoi, different sorts of indigenous African peoples here who are different than Bantu, but who are indeed Africans. We are all the same from the same source. They are the ones who interact with them first, and they get pushed out over the next 100, 200 years as the colonial project is continuing itself. Simultaneously, as you know, there's a slave trade that's happening from the 15th, 16th century that's pushing many Africans that were moving anyway down here. And that's your Bantu migrations, people you'll hear them talk about. Many of them eventually circle up here in Namibia in the north of the country, many of them having multiple waves of immigration because of colonialism in the 18th and 19th and 20th centuries, particularly the slave trade, which was destroying the inside of Africa, right? Not a lot of Afro-Americans are taught, because of how apartheid works, the horrors of the slave trade in the African continent and what it did to communities, right? So my people who live up here, our actual origins are easily more in Zimbabwe or further north. But because of just what colonialism does, we're pushed in these wars in some ways running, right? If we jump back here to these white settlers that begin to create what's called South Africa, they're pushing people out, and people are beginning to come and settle in what is Namibia down here, right? And so when this convergence comes, we actually don't have contact with each other. This is important. So like my ethnic group on my father's side, my mother's Afro-American, right? But my dad's side, we are Ovambos. We're from the north, this place. The Hereros, Namas, and different ethnic groups and different people, so-called quote-unquote colors. We need to not use that term because it's actually not accurate to the different peoples and the richness of the ethnic diversity of these peoples, but are mostly in this area here. The Germans are now late to the colonial project, as many of you know. You know of the Berlin Conference, et cetera, Bismarck and them. They were relatively late because Germany's economy was strong enough. They didn't need colonialism like the other European colonies did. European countries did. They didn't need to colonialize as some of the French and the Portuguese and the British needed to, given the strength of their own economy. It was very interesting contradictions in capitalism there, right? But eventually they do grab colonies, right? And that is when they begin to land here. If we were to zoom in, part of what kept Namibia safe from the slave trade is that this coast, which is also very rich in fish resources, but also is a desert, this coast destroyed many slave ships, right? And so it's called Skeleton Coast National Park. You see this, right? So it kept us relatively safer from the slave trade, relatively, and other contradictions in terms of this a cold water current. It's hard to land there, but eventually technology gets better and they land. You see here, Walvis Bay. These areas here is where the Germans eventually begin to land and they begin their own project going forward. We are a semi-arid country, mostly in the center and south. Think of Arizona in some ways, maybe more rockier in some ways, but also very deserty, if you will. Although climate change has made things worse, right? And they interact, the Germans, with the Herero, who were there, if you will, who were there, and they were in direct contact with some of the Namas and peoples who were coming in from the south, fleeing the Boers, right? And the British. They were in levels of just normal, just living together and conflicting together and living together and the normal stuff, right? And the Germans come in, of course, and do divide and conquer. Think of what what the British begin to do in what becomes the United States with the Powhatan, and they're playing one against the other and beginning to introduce a level of modern warfare and basically killing that many Africans had just not been exposed to, right? And then they through divide and conquer, they basically begin to bring more people into this area of Namibia, the center and the south, and begin to create what you would know later as Lebensraum. Lebensraum, that what Hitler talked about, right? It is born in this project of trying to find living space for Germans in Eastern Europe, but also there was the application of Lebensraum to Africa, in particular Namibia. So this Lebensraum has a deep history, right? And the genocide that goes, that yes, Jewish people were disproportionately hit by, absolutely. It has its roots, of course, in European anti-Semitism for hundreds of years, but also particularly with Germany right here in Africa. That is a direct connection that we must understand.
So before my brothers go, I'm gonna ask one more question. So after maybe centuries or more of denying that something happened there, the Germans are now saying that they apologize and they're supposed to compensate Namibia 1.1 billion over 30 years, right? That'll be $36 million a year. The descendants and the other victims and the broad base of the people are not even in agreement with it. They didn't agree to it. But also from 1945 to 2018, the Germans already paid 86.8 billion to Israel. So kind of talk about this apology and this cheap payment of 1.1 billion for over 30 years. What's your thoughts about that?
So let me draw this connection, wrapping up this history to draw the connection, I think will answer the question. The reason why I gave that breakdown of the country is because that actually lies the answer to your question, right? So part of what happens, and the reason why I laid that out, is that when the genocide happens in the uprising of 1904, 90% of the Herero population and 80% of the Nama population is wiped out. And many of the 10% who survive have to struggle to Botswana. So the paramount Herero chief, who originally did sign a treaty with the Germans, but eventually did rebel against them because his junior commanders were pushing and bucking at the teeth, right? He has to flee to Botswana. So there are many Hereros who are in Botswana. So the reason why this becomes important is because those who were disproportionately hit by the genocide were the Herero and Nama folks. Us in the north, while we were fighting the Germans, we, given some of our history, we're not hit with the genocide in that way. So when the actual liberation movement comes, when the white government, white South Africans, kick out the Germans, and that whole, project comes, and then SWAPO forms, etc., disproportionately, it is a Vambu movement, which does not have a tie to the Herero and Nama genocide the way Hereros and Namas do. It doesn't mean that the Hereros and Namas were voiceless during the major part of the liberation movement, but the disproportionate voice was coming from the North, right? And then when we fast forward to independence, the truth of the matter is that East Germany was very much in alignment with SWAPO, the liberation movement. East Germany, and many of the early histories that you'll see on the genocide that are Germans who are writing it are like East German / Marxist, this Marxist tradition, right? So there actually is a very good relationship there. I was living in Germany 6 years because my father was assigned there, right? For the country, but also as the party in some ways, right? And we took East Germany very seriously because we had those communist ties, right? And so I say that to say that a particular wing of the government, and even people in the North, I'll tell you, don't particularly, they either agree with this or they don't particularly care. So I don't think it is. So it is actually, and this tells you about in the post-independence moment, while we have to begin to start thinking about how do we begin to center different voices, and actually what having control of the state does in a nation state sense with a country that's multi-ethnic and multinational. So what I would say is that's why on Sunday, the ones who we are bringing, while Hildegard, one of them, the one who helped push this statue down is Vambu, like myself, right? The others are not, on purpose, because their voice needs to be made heard here. And because for them, right, they were very much rejecting it. But as you will know, we still also inherited a colonial education, which means many students did not learn about this genocide, even they themselves who went through it, because parents didn't talk about these things. The horrors of it, people kept quiet. We know how this happens with Native Americans here. We know our parents ain't telling us about slavery and why they ran from down south up north and what actually happened to Uncle Tony when we never saw him again. People don't talk about, they keep these things inside, as we know. The same is happening down there. And so a new generation of people are coming up and are beginning to learn. So I think this is also part of what's also happening. And I want to kind of lay that out, that there is a tension there between this younger generation that's learning this stuff, right? And then you have the government, which is disproportionately vulnerable. It's true, right? And not because we're tribal, just because that's the demographics. We're like 60% of the population because we didn't get hit with genocide, 90%. We didn't. Not saying we didn't suffer. We died in our thousands, but there are two different phases of our colonial history we have to understand with Namibia, right? And these things are playing out there. So I want to lay that out as an answer to your question. There are contradictions there, and that's why the government was willing to accept that, because they were also willing to accept that, also it came during COVID. This is important too. Our economies were really on the brink. And Namibia, we import 70% of our food stuff. So if we lose certain access to monies, we are going to starve.
Right.
Okay? So that's part of where that deal comes in. That's part of what happens at that context that I think people also need to. I'm not saying to give them an excuse. I'm saying that this is how the capitalist economy disciplines the nation states, even if you feel that you're radical in certain conditions.
That's a fact. So Diallo, Jared, any questions or comments you have for the brother?
No, I just appreciate the breakdown and the connections being made. It was very dope, and I agree with everybody in the chat saying that you should come back sooner than later and spend more time more regularly, in fact. But those connections are essential, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
All right. Yeah. Diallo?
Yeah, I appreciate it. The scope is rather wide, but I do appreciate the breakdown.
Absolutely. So there's another thing I wanted to share right quick and then get your thoughts of it. So obviously there's been a connection, as you talked about, with the PLO and Namibia, and here they even talked about how the struggles are strikingly linked. So my question is, one, I guess you can reaffirm that, but what are your thoughts on the maybe the teeth and the effectiveness of the UN today, and maybe even the United Nations Convention Against Genocide? Like, what type of teeth or effectiveness, or just your thoughts on their ability to help Namibia, or I don't know if that makes sense, but do they have any power at this point?
No, excellent question. And actually, it's a fun fact, right? I would love for you to send me that document. The man who wrote that document, Mr. Terche, he's my father's colleague. My father sat next to him in the UN in the 80s. So he's actually very close with him. So I know Terche, actually. My father worked with him closely in SWAPO, but my father was the deputy representative for SWAPO at the UN. So that document right there, my father sat right next to him. And that actually leads to your question again, right? When Namibia finally won independence in 1990, my dad, we moved from the representative, like you had like representative, like observer status. You weren't like a nation yet, right? It was like a recognition of you in a certain way, right? So we moved from that section, my dad told me, to now where the states, if you will, sit. And my father said from SWAPO, he said from SWAPO to his colleague there, the PLO, eventually you will join us down there, right? That was what people believed in 1990. Eventually Palestine will join us down here as a state and you will be recognized, right? And so I sort of want to kind of maybe think about that in some sense. And can you maybe repeat the first part of your question? Because you asked a lot there.
Yeah, just more so of like, I just really want like reaffirm the connection, but I just wanted to see how you think the UN, because again, at some points we would go to present things to the UN to hope that they would enforce something. But what's your thoughts in terms of what kind of teeth do they have and what kind of power?
So it's interesting coming from a Namibian, and my dad will give you a different answer, right? So and he's there in the village right now, doing his thing, right? I'm of that generation where I think that the UN was useful to us in these ways. It did give, say, SWAPO, for example, it gave us a global platform to communicate with people. That's very important for a movement that's out in Namibia. Before there was Twitter, Instagram, all these TVs, whatever, right? How can we talk to people? You know what I'm saying? It did give you that. There's no questions about that. And there's positives and negatives that come with that, right? My namesake, Toivo Yatoivo, was able to smuggle his message out with Michael Scott, who then plays this message in front of the UN. That did bring some things to light that the South Africans were lying about, at least put it on the table. When Afro-Americans, Leroy Jones at the time, who would be Amiri Baraka, Maya Angelou, and others stormed the UN in 1961 in the wake of Lumumba's death, right? These things mattered. I want to be very clear, right? But the UN itself is not fighting no liberation struggle for no one, right? And it is SWAPO, it is the Panthers, it is the Republic of New Africa, it is Frelimo, it is the Trinidad movement, the New Jewel movement, it is Bishop, it is those ones who are doing the fighting. The UN has never liberated anybody, right? So I think that as long as we understand that, then use the UN for what is needed. Yes, to articulate certain things are very important in certain contexts if you wish to do so, right? But my belief is in the radical movement, right? We must always understand our relationship to these things, but always keep our mind on the movement itself. The UN right now was never going to do anything about Palestine. The UN is housed in New York City. Give me a break. What do you think they're going to do? Right? They ain't no army. They ain't gonna go. What you mean going to stop them? Because again, you have to understand. Even if you read the mainstream media's reports on the Israeli cabinet right now, the far right people, even the CIA and these other people, they don't talk to those guys because they're ideologically just. You can't talk to them. They don't care. They're like, oh yeah, the world's gonna end, and they are ideologically fixed. There's no negotiation. It's like us in the South. People talk about the Civil War about slavery. If you read South Carolina's document when they are seceding and to start the Civil War, I believe every word they said. I do believe that they felt that their rights were being infringed. That's why we had to fight these motherfuckers. Right? So it's not about, for example, me talking about like the UN and these. The UN ain't gonna. What did CLR James say? He said parliaments don't make revolutions; they only register them. Right? And it's true. Right? The UN is not going to start nothing. It's just going to register the power relations. And as long as the United States backs Israel, Israel will do whatever the F it wants to do. And in their mind, they're putting pressure on Egypt because they want to push those Palestinians into Egypt, and they will never let them return. And Egypt knows that. And that's exactly what everybody knows, right? And I think this is what now the question comes, are you going to physically stop them? And that's why I'm saying that this is why the UN is not that kind of a body. This ICJ, I think it's good for conversation. It's good for certain people who don't know, to kind of get certain people in the convo. I think some of us do need to give a radical analysis of it. But in terms of us on the block, we have to actually organize in the streets. When my dad was mobilizing here in the U.S. for SWAPO, he was clear, I got to work with people like Ilombe Brath, like Ilombe. My dad knows Ilombe. He was there speaking at his funeral. Namibia flew him out directly to speak at Ilombe's funeral because he says, no, we work with that brother because he helped liberate our country. So I think that's where I want our emphasis to be, on the street corners and to mobilize with our people to fight. Because yes, we need to have this solidarity, but at the end of the day, we have to make it happen. There ain't no tooth fairy for revolution. We know we are the ones that have to pull out the teeth.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
So definitely make sure you show love to my brother. And there's a registration form. I guess.
Yeah, sorry, it's just mostly for security purposes. So please just do it so we can screen. You know, the crazy people out here. We want to be able to kind of see who is who, and we will have people with certain powers to kick certain folks off because you don't know who these things attract. But I think it should be fine. It's mostly for that purpose.
Absolutely. If the brothers don't have any more questions, any final words?
No, I got a lot. I just want to be back in my spot to have a better conversation. So we got to have the brother. You got to come back. I got many questions.
And I feel bad. I feel bad, basketball, because I was supposed to talk to you about the Black Panther movie a while ago, but my partner was giving birth, and my life just went a certain way, and we have stuff here in Atlanta with our comrades getting shot and arrested, so things just kind of went. But I gotta take an L for that. I didn't hit you back with something on the Black Panther take, but I gotta take accountability for that.
The only error is you called me Jared. That's the only flaw. Everything, all else is forgiven when you having babies and dropping analysis like that. There's no problem here. So congratulations and thank you for your work. And I can't wait to build with you again, man. Thank you very much.
Brother, thank you. We'll talk to you soon. All right, peace.
All right, peace.
All right. Any other? We got one more story before we wrap up, but any other thoughts on that before we get towards the end?
I don't know, man. I just feel like you gotta stop bringing these whack guests through here, man.
Sorry, man.
I don't know what you were doing here this morning.
I was trying to find your replacement, but you popped up. You know, this the cat is show.
I see why.
On his day off. You know
I see why. Because look what happens. Look what happens if I'm not sitting here while he's rocking like that. I might not be invited back next week.
Listen, I don't know what to tell you, brother.
What do they say? What did the ball chasers say? The greatest ability is availability.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, brother. But next time, if you don't show up on time at the right time,
I see.
Shit just gonna look different.
Yeah.
So I want to get to this little quick story before we tap out some policy down south, I guess, up north, down south. Philadelphia, there's this eviction joint that's going on that is very interesting, and I want to get y'all thoughts of it. So let's go to it.
Philadelphia could resume again as early as next week. The evictions were paused earlier this summer after several shootings involving eviction officers. The city's landlord and tenant office told us today that new training and safety protocols have been put in place. Among the changes, officers will now work in pairs, and landlords also have to submit an affidavit before evictions are scheduled. But some city council members say the reforms just aren't enough.
We need more accountability with this process. We need more transparency with this process. Tenants deserve notice. Tenants deserve compassion. And those are the things that we continue to push for.
Evictions could resume as early as this coming Monday.
This is Democracy Now! Democracy.
But I also want to play a clip of Go ahead.
But who were they saying the eviction officers? What was the shooting?
Eviction officers are deputized and they're armed, and they have a right to come in your house. So the evictions officers were shooting the evictees,
and so there's an argument over now getting the sheriff department to handle it instead of these private armed agents. But here's a small clip of the husband of the sister who was shot by the whatever that person, the intruder.
Into a shooting.
Yo, babe. She got this. So we call 911 still. He's still trying to get in.
Gabriel Plummer describes the traumatic moment his wife, Angel Davis, was shot by a landlord-tenant court officer serving an eviction notice.
He just started, pow, get back. Just like that. And I seen him. And I seen when they hit him. I seen when he drawed up and he jumped like this. Pow, shot her. Just like that. Boom.
The couple lives at Gerard Court Apartments in North Philly, and Plummer says they've been going through the eviction process for more than a year, but never encountered an officer who used mace and his gun.
Called the police, called the ambulance. He shot my wife, bro.
The landlord-tenant court officer is not a member of Philly Police, but the department's officer-involved shootings unit is investigating. Lieutenant Jason Hendershot says the landlord-tenant court officer is state certified to have a firearm as a condition of his employment.
He did discharge his firearm. Allegedly, there was a knife involved. That's why he discharged his firearm, so we have to figure that out.
The shooting happened just after 9 this morning, which neighbors heard. But it was like boom, boom. Police say after the 35-year-old was shot, her husband barricaded themselves inside the apartment until EMTs arrived.
It's sad. It breaks my heart. I didn't know her like that, but she's a human being. That she don't deserve this. She didn't deserve that. No one does.
The landlord-tenant court officer remains on scene and is cooperating with police.
So they say she's okay so far.
All right, so there's this stat point. I know somebody said earlier we shouldn't talk about data. Over 13,000 apartments have people that have been evicted in 2023, and 4% of all tenants, according to Princeton University's eviction lab wars website. 2/3 of those involve Black tenants, compared to 20% of whites, and women made up 63% of the evictees. So one of the things I was looking at, so there's a Sheriff Rochelle Bilal who told the office that, hey, we'll take care of this if you spend $45 million. For $45 million, we'll take care of this. And one of the things that I was looking at, because I'm always looking into like how cities engage the idea of universal basic income. And so Philly is working on one. I don't even want to say they're working on it because it's hella shitty and it's almost it is a joke, right? But the one that Philly is working on, as you can see here, they are giving low-income parents $500 monthly through guaranteed income program, and then there's also like $50 that's going to 250 people. But again, if this lady is saying that 45 million she'll take care of the duties, and that total of that little program is 450K. So that little 450K, like you literally could redirect some money, right? Not even spend the whole 45 million to actually solve the issue by giving people the money that they've already produced in the society so that they can live, as opposed to, again, paying armed agents of the state or even private agents of the state to do this thing. So what are some general thoughts y'all have as you think about this eviction, how the state going to engage it, and then just people's right to live? Go ahead.
I have to say it's not just about money, though, because I was raised in public housing, and I lived in a public housing complex where most of the rent was based on income, and there were rents as low as $1 to $2 a month that the people have, and they were still carrying out aggressive and violent evictions. In public housing, it's not just non-payment of rent that can get you evicted. Providing shelter to a family member or a loved one or a intimate partner, having someone who there were several times juveniles were arrested and convicted, or just being arrested and detained prior to trial, and that could forfeit a lease. So especially in public housing and amongst the poor, the money is definitely an issue, and I'm not trying to downplay it. But even when these landlords, or many of them are ran by companies, corporations, absentee landlords, a lot of times, even when the money issue is addressed, they still have this dictatorial power over the residents, and people are not free to, enjoy their homes or utilize their homes as they see fit. Just to throw that in, that it's not exclusively a money issue. Tenants need rights as human rights, and tenants' rights groups as well. You know, I've seen people getting evicted for providing childcare to the larger community. You know, poor community, mostly single parent households, grandparents, and it's really disgusting. You know, so it's more than just money.
Right. So, you know, Jared is on the tour. He's going every place. He's not doing any of his assignments. He was supposed to be at the Capitalism Museum last week to tell us about this eviction shit. But now he come here late to work. You don't remember the museum? The landlord tenant joint? You were supposed to be watching. That was your assignment. You didn't do your assignment, but you can still give us your perspective on
What are
it.
you even? I don't even know what you're talking about.
You don't remember the Capitalism Museum that you were supposed to go visit? And we read some of the
So
tenants.
no, I wasn't supposed to go visit. I was supposed to ask somebody at the symposium I was at if they knew about that thing, and I did, and they didn't because it was run by someone else on another wing that had nothing to do with the event I was at.
Oh,
so
wow.
I did do my homework.
She was speaking there. Oh, you didn't tell us that. My bad.
No, she. I think there was some miscommunication with that. I don't think the person you thought that was there wasn't there or wasn't involved with that in that same way. But I mean, first of all, it's just disgusting. It should be illegal to evict anybody. It should be illegal to make someone homeless. So it's again baffling in the way that George Jackson once made clear that someone could take the civil service exam today and kill me legally tomorrow. Though I understand that the woman survived.
Yeah, I remember there was a policy when I was growing up in the projects that they wanted to start evicting families from public housing for truancy issues. If your child was absent from school and picked up by truant officers, they just kept coming up with ways to and the eviction is the end term. The eviction is really about controlling people. The byproduct, the evictions come as a result of you not being properly controlled and not properly submitting yourself to whatever system or regimen of control is imposed on you. So those who don't get evicted, whether it's just purely monetary, but in public housing, man, they have so many, restrictive and stringent rules, and if you rent or if you've been a renter versus living in public housing, you don't have those renter rights. The company has access to your home without any type, and they come in, social workers and other agents of the state all coordinate with the landlord. So it's so much more than it's just a dehumanizing situation you have to go through in public housing and
I mean,
subsidized housing.
maybe we just need more Black entrepreneurs who are realtors and landlords who are African-centered entrepreneurs. Yeah, I mean, that shit sound like the solution to me.
Yeah, that's what really helped me.
More need to start Black businesses in disaster relief and bunker construction.
Circulate the Black disaster. Let's get it. So one of the other stats that I saw, that $37 million from the U.S. Department of Housing HUD. This grant will support 97 projects with $2.7 million towards new and expansion projects. The federal fiscal year of 2022 award will fund 74 new housing units and the annual renewal of 2,047 units in our homeless service community. So again, when we talked about the bunker guy, right? He create this social issue and the shit about to kick off, and so he go hide in his bunker. We talk about nonprofit industrial complex where the oligarchs, along with the state, will pay a buffer class to pacify the people that they are victimizing. And so when you talk about even with the housing thing, what are some more effective ways to highlight the contradictions of how the state can easily solve this by, again, something like a real UBI, as opposed to paying some private person to shoot fucking people, or paying a sheriff to do it, $45 million. What are some ways to highlight those contradictions of how, again, because you can hear people like, oh, you know, your financial literacy ain't up, and that's why you're getting evicted, or whatever the case may be. Like, how would y'all speak to those contradictions in a way that will arm people with intellectual weaponry to like want to organize and fight and win? Shout out to CBS.
Well, I think Diallo just sort of laid that out, at least in part, showing that it's not all about financial literacy or people's finances. The other part for me would be to start with what I've seen others point out in the chat. Housing is a human right. So to me, it does, like I've been trying to say, it doesn't matter. None of us should have to be brilliant business people to benefit from the wealth created through the commerce of business and the consumption-based economy in this country. In the same way that none of us should have to be perfect with our finances to secure decent housing. So it shouldn't matter. Even so, my first argument would be, I don't care if the person was entirely irresponsible with their money. Losing their home should not be an option, or should not be part of the punishment for their immaturity or irresponsibility. I mean, so
Now listen, that's called my.
Everything is.
You know nothing about that.
Yeah, my bad. I just think everything is just upside down and backwards how we approach all this stuff. So, and again, Diedrich was on here telling us we've all created at least $150 trillion in personal wealth last year. I'm not.
See, oh, he's getting in trouble again. He's saying things he can't say. See that? See, he didn't went places he wasn't supposed to go. You're muted.
It reminds me of that one comedian who used to be on Disney, and he's going crazy now, but he's going viral saying, y'all trying to make us pay for grapes? We got to pay for grapes. Go ahead. Go ahead. We can come. You can come back. I think if you nope.
You just got to stop saying the banned words.
Oh,
see,
they freezing that brother. They freezing that Jewish brother. No,
I'd like to include something though.
What's that?
That in terms of housing costs, housing isn't what's valued. It's the people that are there. They don't value property. They value the people on the property in the context of housing. There are homes. When I moved into this neighborhood, I've lived in this neighborhood. Of all the years I've been here, I've lived in this neighborhood all but 1 year of my entire time in Chicago, maybe 2. But most of the time I've lived in, and when I moved in this neighborhood, there are retired football players, there were lawyers here, there were working class people, and it was the full spectrum of Black people in this community, well over 90% Black. And the high-end houses where the retired athletes and the professionals and the professors live, the upper end property was like $230,000 to $250,000 in this neighborhood. And for that, you're talking about multi-family units for that much. And now, just about a month ago, we were walking and we just walked into an open house 2 blocks from here where they have $1 million home that they just constructed. And the only difference is now white people are moving in. And this was also an area where they were selling dollar homes and dollar lots. If you just promised, because it was so blighted and so worthless that if you would give the city $1 and tend the land and pay off any taxes or liens on the property, they would literally had dollar homes in a place, in the exact same place. You go to the Gold Coast, you go to the North Side, Lincoln Park, it's the exact same infrastructure as it is on the South Side neighborhoods that are blighted and impoverished. So ultimately, the value of houses is really about valuating and devaluing human beings that live there. And the real measurement, I think the late Ford talked about that from Black Agenda Report, where he talked quite a bit about, the fallacy of the value of homes. Like he said, as opposed to housing being a human right, it's a commodity that's tied to the value, how the society sees and values people dwelling in those spaces.
Just like that, the economist I met last week in her work, when she was saying it's not cheap labor, it's cheapened labor. People have been cheapened. They're not cheap. And the work that they do is not itself cheap. And the wealth they produce from that work is obviously not cheap either. But their contribution is cheapened. And what we collectively are meant to benefit from is cheapened, is devalued and maldistributed. So,
you know it's not. You know what else not cheap?
Every single mayor needs to figure out what the they want to do before there should be grapes, turnips, vegetables, everything on the streets every day for the homeless to eat. You're making us pay for water, you son of a... You're making us pay for grapes, apples, things that God gave us for free. Ha! You will burn in hell when I'm through with you. You will not be allowed in my fire.
Grapes ain't cheap, man. They're making us pay for grapes.
When I was a kid,
He's
we
trying to become
boycotted.
19 grams. We got a new guru on deck.
But he's right. How you gonna make us pay for grapes and apples, though?
Can I play the Caucasus Mountain cave-dwelling devil's advocate? I mean, you're not paying for water per se. You're paying for the water purification and delivery process and infrastructure.
And the labor costs of picking them grapes.
Just to be the Caucasus Mountain cave-dwelling devil's advocate here. I mean, I've had free grapes, and every year I go out and I grow free tomatoes, and some years I get melons. You know, I don't make the proper sacrifice. I mean, every other year I get a good crop of melons when I grow here. And then
you want to know you want to know what's not free?
What?
Speech ain't free. She blocked me, y'all. I took the Diallo approach and she blocked me. Shout out to Erica for sending this back to me. But this is the video I was talking about earlier.
So now you stalking old girl. She blocked you, and here you are.
She's an influencer.
Still got access.
Boom. That touched on the fact that so many civil rights leaders are not celebrated or often even mentioned in the same conversation of civil rights as a control tactic, and America's insatiable need to control and sanitize how we learn about the history of civil rights. So here's a list of civil rights leaders that you should learn about outside of just MLK. Everyone should know Bayard Rustin, a key collaborator with Martin Luther King and a critical organizer for the March on Washington. He played a crucial role in developing nonviolent protesting techniques and civil disobedience, but is so often overlooked because of his sexuality and socialist beliefs. Next, we have Claudette Colvin. There are a number of Black women who refused to give up their seats to white people before Rosa Parks' Act. The difference with Claudette was she was the first one to actually challenge the law, yet people didn't see her as the correct figurehead for this rebellious act. Despite doing so,
So what did you say to this woman?
Parks, because she was 15 at the time.
Hell, I can't remember. But I did call out the leftist part. I was mad about that.
Believed that Rosa Parks fit an archetype that was more palatable to wider society. Then we have Fred Hampton.
Paraphrase what I said, but that
was
part.
A successful civil rights leader because he successfully brought class consciousness to local communities. Local initiatives were born of this class consciousness that allowed minority communities to be self-reliant.
All this time to figure out what Fred Hampton actually did.
Federal government even took inspiration from some of these initiatives started by Fred Hampton. Yet he's less recognized in broader civil rights narratives because of his radical approach and socialist beliefs.
So she's just all the movies. This is a movie review. Is that what this is?
Pretty much. But you know what? Maybe I don't even know if I'm in the comments anymore. Maybe she took it out and delete and blocked me. I don't know. But yeah, all of this was this.
I mean, I would block you too if I'm trying to just watch my Obama movies and make my little TikToks and you coming in my comments talking trash. I would block you too.
My bad.
Shame on you.
That's my Diallo approach. I messed up.
I'd like to see those comments and the nature of those comments.
Let Diallo assess how Diallo they really are.
I should have screenshot them joints, man, because I didn't know I was gonna get blocked.
No, huh?
I should have I didn't know I was gonna get blocked, so I should have screenshot it. I can't even go to my activities and see what I did.
Leave that girl alone.
I am.
Oh my God.
I ain't do nothing.
What's that song? Beyonce Buckaroo.
That's Destiny Child.
Buckaroo.
That's Destiny Child. So I'm gonna need you to go ahead and stop with that. Credit the right people.
Don't be a buckaroo.
A buckaroo? Damn, you go.
I mean bugaboo. I'm sorry. I've been around you too much.
This man done called me a buckaroo.
Damn.
Damn.
A whole new name. Yeah, leave her alone. I'm with
Let's
Diallo
take.
on that, man.
He
Leave
out.
her alone.
He
Oh,
fine.
you got
He
to
done.
take me off too. You got because I'm with Diallo on that.
Y'all the harassers. That was a good call, Geechee. He just want the two harassers on the screen.
And then you got Ricky. You got Ricky aiding and abetting your harassment. Shame on you,
man.
Leave that.
Leave Ricky. Yeah, leave Ricky alone and leave her alone. Leave these
Point
people
blank.
alone.
Period,
Man.
Geechee.
I quit.
Let them
man.
go see their movies.
You done found a
Damn.
way back into her life.
Let's just go to the
After
chat,
she
man.
blocked
And get the next one she does on Ava's new movie. Because it's going to be some more history and facts about the interrelationship between Black people and Jews that this woman will want to comment on.
I did see her make a post about Ava at an Ava event talking about origins, and Ava comment in her comments. So her and Ava, Ava see what she doing. But y'all will have to see that because I'm blocked. So maybe next time. And now Jared frozen. But anyway, let's get to some of these comments.
The next time a sister blocks you, because you suggest y'all get together over some wine and discuss the validity of her analysis, and you get blocked, man. Just leave it at that.
Oh.
Hey, listen, since we want to bring that up, okay, one time I was on this date, and I'm trying to tell you.
I always see through.
Let me tell you what happened. And I don't know if it was a date, it's more of a get together. And I think the sister started saying like something about people being poor because of their choices, and she says like some spiritual thing, like we cause things to happen before we get here. And then I was like, so children who are sexually assaulted, they cause that on themselves? She was like, yes. And I got up and walked off. And I ain't never heard from again. Just like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna sit at this table. So I said all that to say, I'm not about to be.
Had the bill come to the table yet?
I paid the bill. I went to go pay the bill and walk off. I did.
No, you said you walked off, and then I asked about the bill.
Off.
Then you paid the. That was
I walked off to pay the bill.
And didn't them.
Anyway,
so you sitting there. So that's another thing you do.
It's this guy.
After you finish eating, and you be like, So, sister, what are your views on the state of affairs? And
no,
and you wait for her to say something problematic, and you be like, I will not stand for this. How dare you, madam? And then you charge off and leave her with the bill. Okay.
Well, I could have left her with the bill. I think that would have been necessary since she manifests all the money to her.
You didn't storm off, stop to pay the bill. Nobody interrupts a storm.
No, I literally went to go pay the bill and left. I was like, I'm done. I can't. I'm not gonna sit here and act like we about to talk anymore.
They didn't bring the bill to your table.
No, I went straight to because it's like it was an outside restaurant. I went straight to the joint, paid, and walked the fuck off. I was done. No more. No mas. Anyway, let's go to these comments.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
Diallo can't get off my back, man. All right, what we got? Curtis, we got ZZ for the twosie. $2 for that analysis. That's Diallo analysis. It's only getting $2. I'm pretty sure.
See how good the show is when Jared ain't here.
1 minute you want this dude to be here. You can't please Diallo. Negative Nancy.
No, I'm just saying.
Hey Rob, what's up, Diallo? How can we get some cutting of the plants? Yeah, Diallo, can you bring me some plants?
I'll give you a whole damn plant. My wife and I, we kind of accumulated way too many plants.
Introduce us to something. What you got back there? Introduce us to one of them joints.
Oh, well, I'm a little bit behind on the tending. I don't know, man.
Oh, what's the?
I don't want y'all to see the mess in here because this is just kind of the
those little
everything is real. Boy, I don't get down like that. Don't be
you got real vines going across the house and shit.
Yeah, but this is the office. This ain't the main plant room. This is where we the plants come here to kind of that ain't doing on there. This is plant purgatory. So this is just a plant office. You got to go up front.
Wait, purgatory? You killing plants there?
No, it's just we put them back here when there ain't no other place to put them.
Why are you saying purgatory? Like
Because
you
me,
got
I don't like decorative.
you can't listen. You can't have plant slander with me on there because if my mom see this, she gonna be
well,
mad at me.
this is kind of the office. So the plants in here just ain't the main thing. The main show is up front in the family room.
So y'all doing some vertical? Y'all doing any vertical stuff in there? And how about mushrooms?
I don't know. My wife. I came home last night. My wife had bought a plant and hid it under a table. She got problems, y'all. We're gonna have to do an intervention. So I'm ready to give away entire plants because she was like, we ain't buying no more plants. So I was like, yeah, thank you. This is way too much. We got over too. And it was real easy during quarantine to water and clip and tend to the plants. But now that, you know, even though COVID is still on, y'all, mask up, y'all. But now that, you know, we are no longer quarantined and now the plants are, I hate to say it, kind of a burden.
Hey, well, I hate to like put my mom on blast again and telling all my stories, but when I was young, I used to have to ask my mom maybe twice a week, does she care about her plants more than she care about me? Because if I even bump into her plant, she going crazy.
I need
all the cats come in the house during the winter. Like that lady got plants, and then if she see your plants dying, she gonna snatch it up and revive it and bring it back.
The plants all over my head, man. Look at that.
Nah, that ain't worse than my mama.
Look at that. Plants all on top of me.
So you not the plant dude? I thought you was the plant dude.
I am. That's the damn problem. We split custody of the plants.
Dang, Jackie,
I'm on plant support.
Jackie, you're supposed to tell me the opposite. You're supposed to tell me the opposite and feel my ego and my self-esteem. But thanks, Jackie. I mean, my good sister.
I tend to the plants in back here. My wife tends to the main room with in the family room.
Well, give us a name of one of the plants since you tending to them.
I don't know the names of these goddamn plants.
Oh shit, you ain't no.
I don't know. Aloe. Aloe. You happy now? There's a freaking aloe plant over there. There's a gum tree. There's an avocado tree that I grew from an avocado seed. That's the only one I really claim.
And how long you been growing it? Because it takes a couple years for it to actually come out.
No.
You got avocado out of it?
No. You can't. It'll be disgusting. Because avocados, don't you listen to Dr. Sabi? Avocados are hybridized. If you grow like an avocado from a seed, it'll be inedible.
Oh, so you just having fun, just making up shit over there? Just a plant, just because.
I don't know the names of the plants. I know if the watering. I know if they're low light, direct light, medium light, indirect sunlight. But I grow food, man. That's my thing.
Yeah, but so have you grown? Y'all eat mushrooms, right?
Yes.
You growing any of them? You trying to do the line?
I don't mess around with fungi. They take over your brain. You ain't seen The Last of Us? You don't. I don't grow shrooms. I got a homie in Nebraska that's trying to grow shrooms. So that'll be ground zero of the.
You can get the kit though. I'm not talking about the farm. Apocalypse. I'm not talking about the farm. I'm talking about in the kit.
Water and sun. I'm above ground. I'm a terrestrial being. I'm not underground. I'm not a mold people.
You ain't got
mushroom
your own
growers are weirdos. My wife has a mushroom connect. Like she literally has like this dude with an accent I've yet to place. I think it's fake. And he brings mushrooms to our doorstep. She met him at a farmer's market. No, my plants don't have names.
You ain't got
they have locations.
You ain't no real plant dude, man.
I never said I was.
You imposter, man. You imposter. I thought you was a culture
man, this was a pandemic delirium.
All right,
now I'm stuck with them, man. And I gotta water this dude thirsty as you are. So when I get off with you, I'll name this one Geechee because this is a thirsty plant.
Did you see how that joke didn't land? It's just like
let the comment section will decide.
They don't know nothing about nothing. Torbo, my boy. All right, so yeah, in Palestine have great respect for the Africans. Yeah, so even with the sister who just played the video, right? Fred Hampton would be in solidarity with Palestine. Bayard would be against Palestine. And to conflate the two, I don't know if you've been seeing it over the last few months of the conflation or misunderstanding or the lack of wanting to understand the connection between Africans there. And then again, the argument of like, well, how do they treat black people over there? but have you seen or speak to the intimately connectedness of Palestinian people and African people across the globe, like the brother just talked about Namibia, but also here?
I don't think it's as flowery as it's the same issue with black and brown. The Arab community in general and the Palestinian community specifically also has a tinge of racism. There is a quite substantial Palestinian, Afro-Palestinian community within the occupied territories and West Bank and Gaza Strip who are like third-class citizens who are subordinate. So every time I find somebody that we are in solidarity with, I also find a strong vein of anti-blackness, anti-African, and racism that I think has to be acknowledged. So in the name of solidarity and not servitude, I think that as we have dialogues about our collective enemies and we have dialogues about our overlapping struggles and unity, we also have to discuss whether it is with Latino, Asian, LGBTQ, non-Black, and even like the sisters. Really, I appreciate how they bring it to the feminist with white women's racism and classism. So I don't think it's a perfect partnership. I think it's a necessary partnership. It's a partnership with very deep history, but we have to realize, even going back to when the Irish and Black solidarity with the PLO, not the PLO, the IRA, and their struggle against the British. At the same time, Irish cops had their foot on our necks here. So I think that we have to look at the totality of it and look at the ugly aspects of it too. And I think everybody has to be called on for their history of racism, anti-blackness, and their their participation in the scramble for Africa.
Ja, what you think? I know you're just coming in, but this idea of this question too, like, do you have to have that critical thought or question or whatever in the support or lack their support of something that's right? So does there need to be an explicit connection between Israel and Palestinian and Black people?
Where's its driver?
Whose driver?
Jared.
He's in the bunker. Why
I got dropped off. I'm in my bunker now.
And this man got you home? You didn't invite him in?
No, hell no. Hell no.
I don't have a
What's
car.
the point of having a bunker if I gotta invite everybody in?
Yeah, so Diallo talks about some of the racism or anti-blackness in occupied Palestine, which again I don't. But the idea of supporting something, right? So, for instance, back a couple months ago, when people was like, again, African people in Philly shouldn't be worried about Chinatown's new stadium being built, and some would say, well, we're not supporting because of their support of us, even though they do support us, but we support them because they're right, and it does impact us. So, what's your position on like speaking to maybe some of the anti-blackness that Diallo was claiming that is in occupied Palestine?
So I didn't hear what was said, but I am sure that there's anti-blackness everywhere, and I know it caused a little bit of
That was a mute. Did he stop?
Is he freezing again?
Did I freeze on it?
Yeah,
you're not. Freeze? Oh, yeah, you still.
Yeah, you said cause a little bit and then you froze.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Call the bunker contractor.
But essentially, but I'm in agreement with the Frank Wilderson Afro-pessimist critique, but am in principled agreement and solidarity with anti-colonial struggle. So in other words, I think that of course there's going to be anti-blackness everywhere, but that I think as an argument against solidarity and a proper analysis is a mistake. I just think that, so I think that it's something that, as Wilderson has said, is something to be dealt with after the fact of the occupation and and after the fact of decolonization.
Right.
But then lastly, I just want to say that understanding the history of the struggle of the Black liberation struggle here in the United States, it is without question clear that the analysis is our struggle here is connected to the struggle of others of colonized in other parts of the world, that we should be in solidarity. Again, all the other contradictions and issues will get worked out after that initial fact of their national oppression and colonization has been dealt with. I
agree with the after, and I wonder.
Oh, I'm sorry, Geechee. One other thing, because the other logical point that the other conclusion that their logic takes them to is unabiding solidarity and allegiance with those who run this country. As if there's no anti-blackness among the rulers of this country and their colleagues and partners. So it doesn't make any sense. We're not going to have nor do I think we need some perfect ally or perfect comrade or perfect group with whom to be in solidarity at certain points. It's okay. Sorry about that.
No. I just wonder in terms of the intention of the people in those moments, because you said after. Okay, so we have this fight here, and after that, we can deal with that. But as you look at the Umars and all these other people who will say things like, "Oh, I'm not supporting no Arab. They don't support us. They're anti-black or whatever." Like, what is the point of bringing it up while you're also advocating and organizing for?
Because we define ourselves not just by who we are, but by who we are not. So to distinguish themselves from as being worthy of leadership and probably financial support, it makes sense.
This dude buffering all day today.
That's your
I'm
job.
really struggling today. Yeah, I'm really struggling today. I'm struggling more back home than
you biting off of Geechee. You stealing from Geechee. Yeah. He's the internet issues guy.
We almost been a year without me having internet issues, and you still talking about
almost a year. Really?
Anyway, shout out to the brother Kevin Holmes for giving that for the $9.99.
Let me tell you something.
He gave us a big 50 here. What?
Let me tell you something. My position has always been in solidarity with any non-blacks is, I there needs to be a dialogue about how you're addressing racism, anti-blackness within your community as we embark on this journey together. I think that's a valid question every African could ask, because we've seen when people endure their storm and come out the other end, they often have solid. I mean, going all the way back to the early cataracts. I mean, John Henry Clark talked about how Africans rescued people. People come to Africa and are rescued and provide sanctuary in Africa. And then when Africa's under invasions, those people we provided sanctuary to then join up with the enemies of Africa. So I think it is not in any way. I think it strengthens solidarity from my point of view to keep it forward and keep it up front. If we're in solidarity with a population that has a history of or engaged in as a community, as a culture, or if a population within that group have engaged into racist or anti-black positions or actions.
Well, there's one thing that I'm jealous of Umar about. His people who watch him and support him, they're not that smart, right? But our people, the minute you say some wrong shit, they're gonna call us out. Everybody telling me it wasn't. I ain't asked you all that shit. I ain't asked you about the math.
Your internet's been straight since you started wearing your hair down.
Anyway, you should wear your hair down.
Huh?
All right, here you go. Is it possible for the guest Diallo to talk about the Black Dems war on migrants in Chicago? Oh yeah, that's actually that's the thing I was trying to talk about earlier about your homeboy.
War on Black Chicago. There is no Black Dems war on migrants in Black Chicago. The Black community.
There's no Black Dems. There's Black Dems are not doing too much right now with the migrants?
I wouldn't define it as a war. I would say there's a lot of reactionary and short-sighted policy related to the migrant crisis.
Okay.
I can identify for every Democrat that is decrying and hostile towards the migrants. I can identify, and I don't even like speaking in terms of Dems because this is a one-party city basically. Everybody's a damn Democrat. So within the political, you really have to just when you have a area that's dominated by one party, it's best just to talk about the political infrastructure or the politics as opposed to the Democrat, because who are you talking about? Everything is done by a Democrat. So I can see people within the political establishment that are advocating for more humane and sane and progressive policies, as many as there are reactionaries, and there are members of the clergy who are like, this is a burden we shouldn't have, and there are other members of the clergy and who are also very significant power. So there are people advocating housing and reform, and there are people advocating further expulsion and condemnation. But I wouldn't say it was an overall war. I think that the way that as being here and interacting with the migrants, the Venezuelans and things of that nature, I wouldn't define it as a war on migrants. And I think it was shitty, where I used to call Chicago the sanctuary hypocrisy, not the sanctuary city, and how Rahm Emanuel 2 administrations ago had defined Chicago as a sanctuary city to carry favor, liberal favor in the anti-Trump crowd and all that bullshit. So Chicago is by no means handling the migrant situation in a just. And I don't even like saying migrants. They're refugees, and they should have legal refugee status. And the United States is, well, that's how it's framed in the mainstream, because the right-wing mainstream wants to try to show the hypocrisy of Democratic Party advocating for migration, sane migration reform or in existence, and really the mayor Greg Abbott of Texas should be brought up on charges. He's literally trafficking migrants and breaking his own laws about providing, because in certain states, if you're seen driving illegal immigrants around and transporting illegal immigrants, he's a fucking coyote. Greg Abbott is acting as a coyote, dumping human beings, migrants, putting people, desperate refugees, people who have less than nothing, dumping them in these cities and that are not border towns. They are not set up. They don't have the funding or the infrastructure to deal with mass migration because they're not border. Whereas border cities do have the infrastructure, or are supposed to set that up, and they choose not to invest in that. They want to do it. So anyway, there's no war on migrants here. There are people, again, going back to Dr. Fubar, who are and there have been protests because the Black community, there's twofold. Black communities are saying we are a distressed community. We are an under-resourced community. And now we're a lot of times being forced to carry the burden of this tragedy onto our shoulders when we're already, whereas the affluent, wealthy communities don't have this. They don't congregate and they don't have to deal with it, number one. And number two, there is always this fear of displacement and jobs and the low end workers, the low skilled, or as Jerry was talking about, the devalued workers. They're competing with jobs and things of that nature. So there are a lot of complex issues, but to frame it as a war on migrants, I would say it's just not accurate. I've been in places, and you can go to places that does have a war where vigilantes are literally hunting down and murdering migrants. That's just not happening in Chicago. But I don't agree with Brandon Johnson's handling of the migrant crisis. I think he's proposed some good policies and then let them fall by the wayside because he wants to pander to the reactionary ministers and the reactionary city council members. But it's ugly. But and it's one more thing. They should handle the Venezuelans and the Haitians and the other refugees the same way they handled those Ukrainian refugees. There was a large influx of Ukrainian refugees, and I haven't seen one of them on the streets begging or sleeping in tents in sub-zero temperatures.
Jared, got any thoughts about this line of which we talked about a little bit in housing? You got rent control here, but Sister Jackie, housing is a human right.
No, I mean that's it. That's what I was trying to say before. I just don't think I'm against any discussion of people losing housing or not having access to adequate housing, regardless of their behavior or what is said of their behavior. I don't care. Put them in a decent home, decent food and health care, and then
that would collapse the housing market. How you gonna make money off of housing?
There you go. Then adjust that too. Let's keep working backwards from that logic. That's exactly my point. You're absolutely right.
And I have to say this: I don't respect the territorial integrity of an empire. So I don't care if people come in here, people crossing the border. Until the United States respects the territorial integrity of all the nations it is unjustly has military bases on and has incursions to and has, agents and machinations on foreign soil. To me, it is not appropriate for any U.S. citizen to complain about immigrants, migrants, or refugees. I think every sane, civil, humane person and every citizen in this country is obligated to support the proper processing and relief for migrants and refugees until the United States is no longer an empire. I do not respect the territorial integrity of an empire. Everybody who want to come here should be able to come here, and the whole world should vote in U.S. election because it's a global empire. And black people stop complaining about trespassing on the plantation. We
got 5 on it. Great show. Guest earlier. Would love Diallo to get into his gardening. I'm starting a garden and learning beekeeping this year. Would love
play
insight.
around.
What, beekeeping? Avocados and honey.
Oh, well, I worked a garden that had hives where this sister had set up beehives and never got stung, but it was just I was
Your skin crawl?
No,
crawl?
I don't mind, but I'm just afraid of being stung. I was like Orlando Brown out there, so I have great respect for the bees.
I think ants, seen a lot of ants make my skin crawl. So I mean, we
don't have fire ants up here. Our ants are chill.
Oh,
we don't have Africanized bees and fire ants. We have good European honeybees and American ants.
Nah, certain honeys, well, most honey's not vegan, but
don't start that debate.
But then again, like plant-based and vegan is, I think, different. Maybe we should have a conversation about our respective vegans' journeys, because it was actually ironic that all 3 of us just happened to be vegan, but I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, y'all got anything else before we sign?
That's not irony.
You're right.
That's all.
Irony.
It's not irony. Serendipity.
Superiority.
No.
We're not better.
No, we're not better.
Then why they always say we think we better?
Well, you know what? I think I've been on 2 vegan panels and as a speaker, and I've never, the people that was on the panel, they've never been like antagonistic towards non-vegans. Like I always live by that Jay-Z phrase, what you eat don't make me shit. And so I'm like, you ask me questions, I can tell you. I mean, that's some Bard's verb. Like, I don't, that's what you eat and that's what you're doing. I don't really care. Now, if you start asking questions about different things, I can share. Yeah, a panel of vegans. Yeah, just like if it was a organizing panel or whatever. Vegans can be on panels, I think. I hope. Is it okay for us to be on panels? Yeah. Okay. Let's check.
Well, yeah, it's not about veganism. You can eat all the swine you want as long as you fast.
There's no such thing as a panel full of vegans. We don't have vegan events. Oh man, I think I'm maybe I'm ahead of the time. I'm living in 20.
And S-Dub is right. Technically, honey is not vegan.
Yeah, I mean, they can have that.
Bees live. Bees are living things. So bees are.
You're not eating the bees. You're eating their vomit.
That's the truth.
think you
I
can
don't want
eat
the cow
vomit.
mucus either that they
You
call
want the
the
cow
milk.
mucus and the cow
I don't
pus
want
and the cow
that.
blood?
I don't want all that.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't want all that.
excretions. That's why I say you're meat eat. You eat
Hey, let me see. Okay,
animal
okay,
flesh
real
and
quick. Let me
animal
see. Let me see how
excretions.
smart vegans are. When I spell this word, say it out loud. SILK. Go. What's the word? SILK.
I don't know, man. I'm not.
You don't know what the
falling
word
into none of your
SILK?
I
weirdo
feel like I'm
traps.
being
I'm about
set
to
up.
block
Yeah,
you like that.
that's exactly.
word.
This is
I'm
like
I'm
a
about to
weirdo
block him
trap.
too. Where do you?
What does the
where's
word
button?
spell? I'll tell you it's not a trap. It's not a
But
trap.
then Erica just
Yeah.
Just do it. SILK
inbox
spells
him
what?
all our shit anyway.
Come
You
on,
setting
man.
us up
Hurry
for an
up.
Erica joke?
No. SILK spells what? Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What does it spell?
I don't know.
Silk.
Okay, say it 3 times fast.
Silk. 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 Silk.
That's not
silk.
fast. What does cow drink?
Milk.
No, cows drink water.
Oh, right. Okay.
See?
Oh, you
I
got
told you it was a
Oh,
setup.
You've
I told
exposed
you.
me. You've demonstrated your
Baby
intellectual
calves
skill.
drink water to
Whatever
get
you tried to do, you did it.
baby calf drinks milk,
Congratulations.
cow milk to get big really fast.
Lord have his
But cows
mercy.
drink
Well,
water.
you're proud of
After
yourself.
the
Look at
weaning
him.
process
He's
is
beaming
over,
over there.
no
He's
longer.
glowing.
He's very
You did
proud.
it. I
He's
fell
very
for it.
proud
Well,
of
at least
himself.
I had the heart to go through it, Jared. I took the bullet
You
for
did.
both of us.
Look
You
at him.
did.
He turned.
You
Look, he
did.
turning on
I
everybody.
took that.
He's shooting everybody.
I took that for both of
You
us.
did.
Jared
Thank
did
you
well.
very much.
I just wanted it to stop.
Oh,
Oat milk is really
Vegans
good.
be acting
Playing
like
mind
they're getting
games.
life. Everybody getting
In a
consumed.
latte.
See, that's
So
what I mean.
that's a perfect YouTube academic comment. We're all gonna die anyway, so what's the point? That's just.
Let me tell you
I mean,
something.
so you're right. So what are we doing? We just gonna die anyway, so we might as well live as a slave too. Is that what you're saying?
Soy milk. Soy. I'm gonna stop soy slander. Because soy, I've been a vegan since 1992, and soy got
Soy
me through
boy.
deployments. And now
You a
these
soy
modern
boy.
vegans, yes, and these modern vegans with their almond milk and their oat milks and all their various milks, and everybody.
Soy is the better
too good
latte,
for
though.
soy.
Soy is the better latte for me. Oat milk is
Creamier.
I've also been warned about the I think the sugar content in oat milk is high. Something about oat milk is slightly less healthy than almond milk, but I don't remember exactly what it is. I just like soy milk better in lattes, and I like oat milk better, or almond milk we use a lot for cereals and whatever
I
else.
use soy milk for my cereals and oat milk, but oat milk is creamier. It's
Yeah.
a little thicker.
Yeah.
But to each.
I'm sorry. Every time I hear almond, I just think about this scene, man. I'm sorry. This is the funniest shit ever.
Brown.
Oh wow.
Why don't you let me help you with your little test? What'd you say, man? What? Now you know you heard me, almond. I don't even know why you tripping. Your little almond himself. You so almondy. Look at you. I'm gonna start calling you Almond Joy. I wrote a song about you.
You know what's funny to me? Back when just gay itself was funny, like gay was comedy. My sons look at that shit like I don't get it. It's a gay dude. Like
you don't want to be almondy. You so
yeah, it's like they look at our old 90s comedy.
No,
and they
that's
just like
yeah.
that shit's not funny. They don't even get it.
My daughters start talking about they go to boomer jokes and the dad.
Oh damn!
Yeah, they like this.
I did miss the Anita.
Funny?
He was supposed to Anita. I missed that part. I ain't keep playing it.
Oh, he's about to sing about Anita.
Yeah, no, he was singing it. Yeah,
singing Anita Baker.
All right, so yeah, let's get this one. How about your? I mean, y'all kind of old.
We got a bone sucker rebellion in the comments.
What?
I said we got a bone sucker rebellion. All the people.
No, but listen. So y'all might be a little bit older, so that might not work. But the sitcoms. What are your top 2 or 3 sitcoms all time? You could be as early as Martin and all these other Fred Sanford, whatever. But what's your?
I'm so ashamed.
It got to have black people in it though.
See, thank you.
Oh, I was gonna say. Well,
I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble too.
Bring the white. Bring the
I'm
white.
in
Everybody.
trouble.
Everybody included. Go ahead.
No, I
I'm
mean, I
just
grew
gonna
up
say
watching
black.
all those. No, well, no, if I'm honest, I mean, at this point, if I'm perfectly honest, at this point, Veep and Archer are I think, the best sitcoms.
Oh, we can say cartoons?
Well, I don't know if those are the rules, but
Wait,
in terms
Veep,
of his,
Veep is better than everything in the past because Veep is new.
oh, I
right?
think Veep, I think Veep is better than almost everything. I think it's actually better than almost everything I've ever seen in terms of sitcoms. I think Veep is phenomenally funny.
Is it a
but
sitcom?
maybe it doesn't count. Living Single, I used to love that, and
but is that your top two though?
I mean, again, if we're talking about honestly, at this point, I don't think it's better than Veep or Archer. I know, I mean, that might be blasphemy at this point, but I don't think that they are.
Bang.
Yeah, I mean, but
I don't think I ever saw Veep, to be honest with you.
Veep is I can't. I mean, I've watched it. I watch it over, and sometimes I just have it playing in the background when just for whatever. I just think it's that good. I think it's that well written. It's. I just think it's okay. I mean, and Archer, I think is at that level too. But
okay.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not. I think that's fair. I think that's a legit. Okay.
Comedy.
But
go ahead. What's your sitcom?
I mean, I don't know how
Seinfeld?
this. Well,
Diallo could look like he's a Seinfeld.
no, Curb Your Enthusiasm was way better than Seinfeld. I thought, if you're going to compare, if we're going to go in that direction, I thought Curb Your Enthusiasm, the early seasons in particular, I thought were phenomenally funny. But I mean, but nostalgia still means something for me. I mean, Sanford and Son, What's Happening, Good Times, The Jeffersons.
Trying to clean up.
No, I'm not, because I was about to add because I used to watch
top three favorite. Now
I told you my two. I told you my two.
That man said Veep is better than Sanford and Son. Go ahead.
It is.
His list.
It is. Veep is better than Sanford and Son.
You big dummy. Go ahead, Diallo.
And I know all of them. I know all of them, Joe.
Rollo, who gonna be better than Rollo?
Listen,
Rollo was great. Grady, I quote Grady all the time. Goop, goobly goop. I love all of that. I'm just saying. But I like. I'll take the Diallo default out and say, look, Veep is not a situational comedy, and therefore, Sanford and Son is better as a situational comedy. There you go.
All right, Diallo, let's get them sit.
I have to say, real talk, man. When I watch TV, I'm looking for an escape. I mean, I've been around black people all my life. I've never been able to afford to get away from black folks. So when I look at TV, I look to enter a world that is other than my own, an escape, as a disclaimer. So I'm gonna go ahead and say 30 Rock is a masterpiece.
I never watched that actually, so I don't know.
It is wild.
Oh no, 30 Rock. I'm sorry, I got that confused with the other. No, 30 Rock.
Tracy
you're right.
Morgan.
No, you're right. Diallo was. I got it confused with the Third Rock from the Sun. That other one I never watched.
No,
30 Rock.
That's just
30 Rock is.
And it's New York as fuck. It's so New York.
30 Rock.
Let me say again.
That's the number one. Who?
Frasier.
Frasier.
No, I can't go there. With you.
It's so well written. It's so well. I mean, just because the white bourgeoisie. Just go watch.
You just like the sweaters because he got his sweater.
At the whole house. Oh my goodness, just all the finer things. But just go watch the Spa episode. It's just the Frasier, and there's a tie. I have a tie for third. Community. And I just watched Community for the first time last year.
Saved by the Bell is better than Frasier.
What is Yipper? Yipper 99. Who is Yipper 99? Have we ever met? Because Yipper is just out. Yipper talks recklessly, goes back and forth from reckless to. I feel like I might actually. But no, Brooklyn Nine-Nine was never. I did watch it from time to time, but it was never my.
I saw
it was
the
never,
first episode. Community and Arrested Development.
Arrested Development was hilarious. That's another good one.
I've watched that through more than once.
Yeah, that's another very good show. But I don't understand how Arrested Development is actually any different.
Family
from
Matters better than Frasier.
It was a situation comedy. It was a sitcom.
I don't understand. What's the difference? One aired on Fox and one aired on HBO.
Veep. My wife loves Veep, and I've never sat down and watched.
Listen
it
to your
her,
wife. I keep telling you, you married up for a reason.
Okay,
listen to the woman.
Yeah, I might give that a try, but Community definitely is. Community is off the chain.
Now, if they had not cut it off and let it breathe a little more, Southside would have made it to my top 10 eventually too. Southside was a damn genius show.
Phenomenal. Masterpiece theater.
Yeah,
I just think y'all disrespectful that y'all just not even talk about Martin at all. Like that's pretty whack.
Martin.
When Martin, I'm gonna tell you when Martin. When they moved Martin out of his radio setting, to me the show started to lose its appeal. For some reason, I thought when he was there and what they did to Garrett Morris, firing him in his hospital bed after he got shot, was trifling. No, of course nobody said Fresh Prince. Why would we say Fresh Prince? And they got rid of the dark skinned mother.
Bernie Mac show. I mean,
Bernie Mac show was great. Actually, I love the Bernie Mac show.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Absolutely. I used to love that show. Yeah,
I like Jamie Foxx and Bernie Mac.
Another one gone too soon.
See, Yipper, you owe me an apology. Yipper. I think Yipper. It was being a Big Bang Theory. I never watched that. I
saw that. But Community was. I was surprised.
Community was good.
Why people like Community so much? So.
Yeah, I like Community.
Two of my top 3 has a recurring black character. So.
Yeah, Veep has a black character on there.
Recurring.
She is there every show.
Oh, okay. Then you get a pass too.
Yeah, she's.
Wait. Wanda, no. What was Wanda Sykes had something, or she had her own thing?
Oh, listen.
She was on Curb Your Enthusiasm for a while.
No, okay. They have a Netflix sitcom with Wanda Sykes that is good.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, I like it. They get to curse on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Wanda Sykes is a main character, and she produces.
I did like The Office
Omar
too,
Epps.
by the way.
Oh, The Office was good. I forget. It's too much to really. I liked it. The Office. So.
I'm about to do something for y'all real quick.
What's your 3 so we can get out of here? Or did you name them?
I mean, Martin is one.
All that Nick at Night shit, huh? Martin.
Don't try that. Martin is one. I like the Jamie Foxx show, to be honest with you. See, I ain't grew up in those rich neighborhoods like y'all that watch all these white shows.
The Upshaws, yeah. I'm sorry. The Upshaws is. I've watched all those shows. I've watched all seasons of the Upshaws.
Yeah, Upshaw. My brother said Upshaws was fire. I don't even remember. I don't know if I remember that.
I mean, Kim Fields, man, she is just a national treasure.
Yes, she is.
I don't think she gets enough.
She doesn't. She's a superhero, a legend.
She goes down in the Upshaws. And I like Wanda Sykes.
Watch the Upshaws.
I like her dry nasally humor. I mean, from Pootie Tang to up.
Wow, she wasn't Pootie Tang.
I mean, Pootie Tang was that. That's another hidden treasure that needs to go into the vault.
We about to stop our marathon.
You about to get us a copyright hit?
Wow!
Oh, for real?
You are?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It was already
about to
wrapped.
get the whole
it's
channel deleted.
Yep.
Why you didn't tell me that, man?
You can't play Saturday Night Live clips on a live stream. Are you insane?
On YouTube?
Are you insane?
Maybe that was a clip of a clip.
Yeah. The Pootie Tang was Louis C.K. So that's
Pootie Tang, my tippy towel.
Louis C.K.
Kobe down on the panty style, my Damie. Pootie
Wait,
Tang
what does Louis C.K. have to do with that?
Pootie Tang used to be a character on the Chris Rock show, and Louis C.K. was a comedy writer for the Chris Rock show, and that
really
had such a presence. They was like, let's make a whole movie out of this Pootie Tang character. Sadate.
So I tell my running
Louis
towel.
C.K. was the writer
Don't
on
be
that.
down
Oh,
on the
man.
panty style, my damie.
That man speaking in tongues. Y'all ain't even know it.
That wasn't speaking in tongue.
Yeah, it was.
True that time.
When I was a child, I spoke as a child.
But you
All right,
notice
man,
that
let's get out of here,
SNL
man.
skit was actually targeted at Cat Williams.
Oh yeah, I know.
It
They
was an
making fun of him.
attack
Yeah.
on Cat Williams, where
Absolutely.
I think somebody mentioned that SNL picked it up, but they actually did a takedown of Cat Williams.
I mean, it helped. It helps.
He's
It
just
helps him.
absurdist I mean, ain't no such thing as bad publicity.
Mhm.
I mean, that little kid beating Cat Williams up helped him.
Yeah,
It does
said,
make
I
sense
only
that
lie
Louis
about
C.K.
I only lie about 3 things.
Because Chris Rock allowed Louis C.K. to get away with saying the N-word. There you go, Diallo.
Yeah,
He gave Louis he gave him a pass.
But I can't front. Every time I take off my belt, I try to do so I can't. That movie, I take off a belt.
Thanks to ZZ Line. The White Princess series is a great series about white people, only white people, on how trifling they are. The White Princess series. I don't know anything about that. No, but that's why I like to watch shows like Succession and you know, you get the unadulterated all white triflingness. Like I like that kind of stuff.
Like Al Bundy.
No. This is the elites. This is the elite whites. No. Because Bundy, you would still get the indirect shots at the. No, the elite whites are just so their racism is so elite. It doesn't even it doesn't even make direct reference. It's uber racism. It's just over everything. So yeah, Succession was very good. I like that series. Too slow. Oh, Josh, shame on you. Shame on you.
Married with Children. That's right. That was the name of it.
All right, fellas. I'm gonna head out.
Take us out. Take us out. Man.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Peace if you're willing to fight for it, like Fred Hampton used to say. See you tomorrow with Saturdays with Renee. Anything you all want to just all the links in the show description. Go support everybody's stuff.
Like,
you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Algorithm. We'll be back next week. See you all next time on
You got to earn your liberation.